Hello everyone. We're here. That was um that was Fernando Soares' sixth study, and this is the 20th one in the book of 20 studies by Fernando Soare. I hope you're all having a good night. We're here again. This is gender blending. I'm Paige, and this is the show that I call Gender Blending, and this is the show that we're on. We are watching it currently. It started. Joey the Bastard is just farting around. Same here. And I'm glad that you'd fart around with me, of all people. Tonight, I have a loose schedule. I'm gonna watch some Terrance Mckenna as usual with Ram Dass tonight, and I'm going to be doing maybe some drawing, maybe a little creative storytelling, and above all, responding to chat as usual. So I'm Paige, I am trans, and I talk about that on this show. I talk about nature and life on this show and philosophy. And tonight, I think, is going to be kind of a focus on just like watching some dialogue between two of my favorite thinkers of all time, because this is a video that never gets old to me. I've watched it many times before, and it's pretty intriguing. It's a dialogue between Ram Dass and Terrance Mckenna, who are two of my favorite thinkers of all time, and also very, very different thinkers. Both of them have inspired me immensely, and I hope that you enjoy listening to them. And I'll pause the video to kind of like respond to any of your thoughts and expand upon my own as we go. So let me load up the video. I actually don't have it loaded yet, which is poor practice on my part. Poor practice on my part, but it's okay because it's really only going to take 1 second to find it. It's a very easy query to pull out of the ether. And here we are. It's already loaded up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the desktop audio, which should have been off to begin with. And what I meant is turn off the playlist. And I'm going to turn up the desktop audio. And we're going to kind of just jump into the video. This is Ram Dass and Terrance Mckenna talking. And here we are talking as well. Ram Dass, also known as Richard something. I forget what they called him. Richard something. I just know him as Ram Dass.
This summer past, we journeyed to Prague, Czechoslovakia, to attend the International Transpersonal Conference, a meeting of philosophers, psychologists, anthropologists, writers, ecologists, and thinkers on global subjects. Throughout the conference, we were able to track down and interview some of the movers and shakers whose ideas and hopes will shape the new millennium. Prague was a fitting venue for this meeting, poised as it is at the center of European crisis and promise. It is a metaphor for the transformation of the planet and of human psychology that must take place if we are to provide a sane future for our children.
Oh, there he is.
I'm standing in the center of one of Central Europe's most beautiful and mysterious cities. This is Prague, Czechoslovakia, and I'm Terrance Mckenna. We're here to meet with some of the world's most outstanding thinkers to discuss science, spirituality, and the mounting global crisis. And it's fitting that we should meet in this, the capital of ancient Bohemia, for Prague and Bohemia have always stood for intellectual innovation, chance-taking, and the life of ideas.
You know, this whole conversation is supposed to be about the crisis of our planet, but honestly, it's hard for me to even be upset seeing Terrance McKenna and Ram Dass in one place, because these two people just brighten up my world with every word that they say, and I hope that you all feel that way as we watch this. I would love to go to Prague. It looks so beautiful.
In the Jugendstil splendor of one of Prague's most famous concert halls, we encountered Richard Alpert and persuaded him to have lunch with us. Alpert, who now calls himself Ram Dass, is one of the most enduring figures from the American cultural upheaval of the 1960s. Alpert, whose career reaches from Harvard University to the plains of the Punjab, has transformed himself into a spokesman for humanity's ignored and downtrodden. And Ralph Abraham was sitting across the table watching me have this conversation. And when after Steiger left, Ralph leaned over to me and he said, "So you see, Terrance, the mushroom is telling you that it can reach out and touch you anywhere." And I thought that was amazing.
Well, anytime you would like to or feel you have the time to guide me through anything at all, I'd be happy to be your...
This waiter is so good. It's like one of the best parts of the video is this waiter who comes in and is just like literally on the same wavelength. That's so amazing.
Excuse me, sir. You are not the famous Terrance Mushroom Mckenna. That is you, my friend.
It is.
I'm aware of.
That's him.
It is.
Oh, how wonderful. Yes, pleased to welcome you on our Bohemian highway. I especially bring you very good black coffee and espresso. And if you may tell me, who is the attractive elderly gentleman you brought on your side on your companionship here?
This is Mr. Dass.
Oh, the MS DAWs, yes.
No, the Ram Dass.
Oh, the CD-ROM.
CD-ROM, yes.
CD-ROM Dass.
The LSD
LSD Dass, yes, the one,
Oh,
yes.
wonderful. Take this and we'll be
Oh,
making
thank you, thank
very
you.
bohemian. And this...
I am so happy to be in your
So
fair
good.
country.
Oh, my
It's
country,
so
very
good.
fair and happy to have the LSD experience. You know,
What is your name? What is your name?
My name is Waiter.
Waiter, how do you do, waiter? A pleasure.
Yeah, see you waiter. Okay.
See you later.
You don't think there's any... It would needs the external form of the mushroom.
It would never have happened for me. I only argue from my own experience.
Yeah, but you and I were both so thick in crap when it had, that's why we needed it.
Well, but there are a few others out there. We didn't corner the market on being thick in crap.
Yeah. But I'm talking about somebody like a Ramana Maharshi or somebody like that.
Oh, well, these people.
I mean, there are people.
Sure. But the idea is not to come up with something that the best among us can make hay with, but a democratic, something which addresses the species. The thing that seemed to me so important about the psychedelic experience was that it happened to me. I wasn't reading John Chrysostom or Meister Eckhart.
Exactly.
Of course, those guys.
Right on. It happened to me. It happened to me, yes.
And so I assume that I am a very ordinary person. Therefore, if it happened to me, it could happen to anyone, and that's really
a questionable.
something.
That was a set of assumptions there. One, that you're a very ordinary person, and whether the same chemical given to a dozen people would bring about 11 other people like
Similar
this, and I think it would be the outcome would be very different. And that's it. I keep getting cast into an evolution of consciousness model about individuals, because there's such marked individual differences as to 3 people come before my guru, one completely goes, and the other 2 get a chapati. And people take psilocybin, and some go like that, and they go like that, and some go like that, and they go like that.
Well, don't you think a good metaphor for it would be sexuality? Apparently, there are some people who can kind of take it or leave it, and others of us, it rears its ugly head with great presence. Yet everybody has to
I
come
notice
to
as I get
terms
older,
with
I
it.
move from one of these categories to the other. It leaves so much space in my life. I don't know what to do with my free time.
I hope it never happens to me.
Oh my God, I do not. I do not have free time.
Just clinging. Just clinging.
No, just aspiring to cling. Actually, I live the life of an ascetic. It's my aspirations that are pulling me down. Well, see, the nice thing about this evolutionary argument is that you can sort of make the snake take its tail in its mouth.
Exactly.
Because
It does.
the escape is not into some science fiction future.
No.
It's into an archaic recursion of some sort. We once knew everything we need to know.
Yeah.
So what we are trying to find out is lost knowledge, not new knowledge. And if you direct people back toward 10,000, 20,000 years ago, they see a kind of completion that an open-ended future is.
It seems to me it's a confusing thing to use time in that way, because it makes the artifacts of that period seem to be valued as opposed to the artifacts of this period. And it seems to me that I mean, whether you call it not science fiction, but science fiction can also be very compassionate. It can be very historically relevant. It doesn't have to be. It's just using a different set of artifacts to work with. So,
well, for instance, I see most of what's happened in the 20th century as being unconsciously driven by this fascination with the archaic.
Fascination with the archaic.
Yes, I mean.
Wow, that was of all the things I predicted you'd say, it wasn't that. Tell me what.
Well, for instance.
Something about this that's actually like kind of surprising to me. I've listened to this talk many times before, but I just like forgot that Terrance said this, is that he said it's not an escape into a technical future, and rather it's this like pull to an archaic past. That's not how I like have interpreted Terrance McKenna's archaic revival, actually. So I am excited to hear him talk more about it. I actually like thought Terrance McKenna with the archaic revival was sort of referring more to how we're going to use technology, because I absolutely do view what we are aspiring towards as a society as being an escape, a technical escape from sort of the problems that we've created for ourselves. So I don't know what Terrance is actually going to say about the archaic revival here. But that is a big ish for him. I'm surprised Ram Dass hasn't heard of that.
Impressionism deconstructs the hard image of realism and gives you a feeling toned thing, which was very antithetical to Victorian Edwardian thought. Then Freud and Jung describe different aspects of the unconscious, but to do it, Freud has to talk about repressed, primitive sexual imaginings. Jung talks about folklore, fairy tales, and mythology. Meanwhile, the Dadaists and the Surrealists are saying we have to break up the linear expectations of the bourgeois mind. And then you get at Jackson Pollock and those people who say the image itself has to be thrown out. And then, to my mind, the psychedelic thing in the 60s, based on rock and roll and a boundary dissolving psychedelic, we almost by a random walk are finding our way toward shamanism, tribalism, nomadism.
Go beyond the isms to find out. Tell me what we're really finding.
We're finding a world made out of mind rather than stuff.
Great. Okay, we're finding a world made out of mind.
Okay, that
Every
I agree
time
with.
you describe which mind you find, that's just a limiting condition. I mean, if we just find the thing of mind-created stuff, live in that, then what happens?
Well, I mean, there is a transcendental dimension beyond language. It's just hard as hell to talk about it.
But if you live in it and talk from there, then the forms that it will manifest in become just the forms it manifests in. It's nothing more or less than that. So
you mean you download the unspeakable into language and let the chips fall where they may?
Well, they don't fall where they may. They fall in a perfectly harmonious pattern.
Well, that's them falling where they may.
Where they may, where they will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so what I'm hearing from you is you have a very strong sense of the pattern, strong enough that your necessarily limited personal viewpoint doesn't tend to get in the way. You can always push the reset to hope button, and then you hope, almost on principle.
Trump has said to me, stand halfway between hope and hopelessness. I thought that was very useful.
And is that,
No.
what is it? It's
It's the ecstasy of total horror and total beauty at the same moment. That's what I feel again and again, Terrance. When I'm with somebody dying of AIDS, my God, my heart's breaking. It's horrible. It's a ghastly social ostracization, this, that, opportunistic illness and everything. And there's another part of me that's giggling. And I can hardly handle the multifrenia of it all, in the sense of the perfection of it all, and the beauty of the moment, and the horrible shit of it, you know?
Well, it all is spun together. Is that because you feel confident that the self is somehow indestructible, or because you don't even ask that question?
You got to watch the words indestructible, because that has a time dimension. I mean, I think that awareness is
But for example, do you think this is the stage upon which all acts are performed, or that we move
No,
up
this is
and
one of the
down
stages.
many levels?
Probably infinite number. Because I just look into two minds and I see two different ones. And those are all on just this one. No, I feel like I have this friend Emmanuel, you know, this spook that has no body. And in that,
Autumn, so good to see you. I don't know if you're familiar with Ram Dass as much as Terrance McKenna, but Ram Dass is another huge influence on me. And this is him talking to Terrance, and it's such a, like, I feel like this conversation has a strange start because they're like feeling each other out, because these are two very, very far out thinkers, but who are approaching the biggest issues and the like hugest thoughts, but from really different places. Terrance is this like very sort of more skeptical and scientifically minded philosophical approach to metaphysical questions, and Ram Dass is someone who really approaches this through a lens of spirituality, faith, and just pure love. And I think the two of them are trying to both reach like in between those approaches to this, so that they're like in the middle. Thank you for loving my top. I love this top too. My landlady just gave it to me. Every time you see someone has an influence on you, they're usually freaking, and chat is just like pulled over. Awesome. Yeah, they're awesome. And so this chat, like, it starts off weird because, like I said, they're approaching it like slightly different angles, but they're like both engaging in a good faith dialogue about, like, you know, how to tackle the issues that our world faces. And I mean, this was in the 70s or 80s, but actually I think it's 93, it says at the beginning of the video. But yeah, it's so good. And the end of the video is really, really great. I love the last like 5 to 10 minutes. There's also a really good character sort of in the person who's serving their food, like when they talk about faith. Yeah, I'm not a big Ricky Gervais person, but I do appreciate Stephen Colbert a lot.
Emmanuel's two lines to me were, death is absolutely safe, first thing. That's a very profound statement. And the next thing he said, it was like taking out the tight shoe. And then I said to him, Emmanuel, what am I doing here? Who made this error? What am I doing on this plane? He said, you're in school, why don't you try taking the curriculum?
And the curriculum is
Life.
any life?
It means the exploration of the clinging of mind within the world of projected form.
So the exploring life.
It's the exploring life with it's purposive in the sense of returning back into the Garden of Eden. It's a return. There is a return metaphor underlying all of it.
And I'm sure you're asked this all the time, so am I. Maybe we give different answers. Do you think that this can be done without psychedelics fast enough to have an impact on the global situation?
Could it happen without psychedelics? Terrance again is so funny. I don't think so. But I think Ram Dass will say it could.
I could conceive that it could be, yeah. You asked, do I think? I don't really have an opinion whether it will or won't. But I could see it go either way.
Same,
Well,
actually,
like John
sorta.
Seed said to me, it's too late as far as the rainforest is concerned. He says the inertia is too great in the whole system. It's too late. So I said, okay, John. I mean, it was the first time somebody said it to me just like that. He said, it would take a miracle. I said, oh, that threw me back on whatever that was. And then he said, but after all, he said, we came up out of the ocean and came onto land. He said, we have quite a lineage of miracles. I wouldn't underestimate it. That was a nice one.
Well, so my question to you is, are psychedelics a miracle?
Psychedelics are a miracle, yes. They may not be the only miracle.
Are they the miracle we need?
I don't know that. I don't know that.
Thanks,
I think
Autumn.
they may have already done what they were
I'm excited to
to
see
do.
your stream.
Really? That's interesting.
I think
I've
it's
never heard anybody
I think
say
what is done is so much more powerful than anybody yet recognizes.
This gets so
See,
good.
I see all this destruction is just the process of transformation. The question is whether we'll keep it together in the process of transformation. And that's why all I'm interested in doing is becoming a person and helping others become a person who, in the process of the dramatic stuff, will keep some equanimity and there's some love and some presence in that process. But psychedelics may play a role in that. So you're right, that comes back to your question.
Well, see, my assumption in trying to think about thousands of psychedelic trips rather than just mine, what they seem to do generically is they seem to dissolve boundaries.
Yes.
And the ego is in the business of creating, maintaining, and defending boundaries. So I really see the psychedelics as directly intervening in the core process which is running us over the edge, which is our inability to emotionally connect.
You made all these little spaghetti charts, depending on what job you get, where you move, when your name legally becomes Autumn, and when Chris and you can get married. Oh my god, that must have been kind of fun. I always feel like when I make an actual flowchart of like thought about what I want to do, I'll go to my main webcam for a second. Hey, look, I'm here. And now I can see this beautiful top even closer. It's very nice. I'm very thankful to my landlady for giving it to me. I kind of want another computer monitor, but I have no space for a computer monitor. I'd have to like put it on like a door that is actually, there's a door like right here. I actually shouldn't open it, it's gonna fuck up my lighting slightly. But I don't have a spot for the monitor really, but it'd be nice to have one more monitor for chat. I can put it on this screen over here, but then like, I don't know, turning over here is actually like kind of a pain a little bit. But I think I might do this for now. I need to change the settings to be up because there's just so much stuff to look at, you know? You know how it is. Okay, let's make it big text so that I can read it. Autumn, yeah. No, I'll be stoked to watch your stream. I hope you get started soon. I'll definitely go by. But I'm glad that you made those charts. It definitely makes me feel better to do things like that. I sort of haven't been doing that because I don't have a lot of choice in my life at this moment. I'm starting a new job next week, and so basically I'm just gonna stream until then. Oh, and I'm gonna basically put up my new stream schedule, which I'll be streaming. I'm gonna stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week, but from now on I'm gonna stream every Tuesday and Thursday, and then also Saturdays. So I'm gonna do it consistently from now on. I think it's gonna be a lot easier with the schedule, and I'm really looking forward to creating content forever. um I have kind of a lot of ideas for different things. I was thinking about trying something new tonight based on how many people end up showing up in chat. I mean, it's a Monday night, so like I don't know if there's going to be a lot of people here, but I was thinking about doing like a creative writing exercise where every so often I just ask for details from chat and like use that to fuel like a story. Like, so I have a story in mind and I would write it, and then I would just like ask for character names, and I would ask for like short like descriptions, and just like get chat involved in the writing of the story. I like already have a story written out, but it's like kind of short right now, and it doesn't have an arc. It doesn't end. It just like goes and dies. But let's keep watching this video for now, and let's finish this video because I have a bunch of stuff I want to like watch and react to, because I've just been loving showing Terrance and Rob Doss and these other speakers, because like as much as I love talking, I love sharing these speakers who have just been so formative to me. So let's just get back to this talk.
With the consequences of what we're doing. If for a single moment we could feel what we're doing, we would stop.
I understand.
But we do
It's
not.
interesting because you take images that all of us know, of the girl running down the street.
Is that the Grip Reaper? It's the Grip Creeper. I assume you mean the Grim Reaper, probably. M and P are pretty close together. They're kind of the Grim Reaper. It's Ram Dass and it's Terrance McKenna, and they are talking about life and death. So in that way, it's kind of like the Grim Reaper. But yeah, this is a great talk between two wonderful, wonderful thinkers. Nice to meet you, young Nakis 69. Nice too. So I'm going to just play this again.
Street naked in Cambodia, you know, or something like that, and we say that wasn't strong enough. It all, you know, it won the Life of the Year award, but it wasn't strong enough. It didn't stop everybody and say, "Holy shit, what are we doing here?" You know? So, what would be strong enough to do that?
69 Nice was taken? Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, it's probably a pretty common one, right? You know, someone told me the other day that 69 is actually the sex numbers. So that's like actually really funny that you chose that number. I don't know if you knew that when you did that.
And you say, well,
I'm kidding. I don't know if you know me here, but sometimes I pretend I don't know things when I actually know that they're things already.
psychedelic.
Oh, so meta. We have the most meta humor.
But that's, you know, it's in a one-on-one thing. I mean, we're talking major game players at this moment. Put China into your computer. You know,
How do you deal with
you know, I mean, either you're spraying it, or it's water, or it's some other.
We'll allow that. We'll allow that one. Yeah, I mean, it's something to know about for sure.
Level of consciousness that does it. There is a certain level of trauma that's possible that can soften the ground, right? Not 3 Mile Island and not Chernobyl, but I mean, I don't.
Well, you gotta take your chance sometimes, and I mean, with a name like 69, you gotta like throw it out there. Okay, totally off subject, but you know me, I can't keep things inside. Will you please be my maid of honor? Oh my god, you're asking me while I'm streaming? That's amazing. Well, so I mean, I don't know if this is like a remote ceremony or something. I do not have the funds to travel at the moment. So I would not be able to attend in person. That would like be literally amazing to be able to do, but I definitely can't travel right now. I'm actually like negative money. um but yeah, no, what I was gonna say earlier, I was saying before, am I trying to find out? Well, I actually know quite a bit already. uh, but unfortunately, I have a strict policy of not not dating people who I met through streaming. So, unfortunately, yeah, you took your chance, but it didn't work out in this particular case. But you know, that's like the story of life, and it sucks. You know, I put out this stream, and that's me taking my chance to say the things that I feel like saying. If I can, I will pay all of your expenses. Oh my God, Autumn. Well, let's talk about it more outside of when I'm streaming so that we can like talk about details more. But we can maybe try and figure it out. My new job, it literally requires me to not take vacation for 4 months. No, it's okay, Autumn. I mean, we can talk about anything, anytime, literally. But let me keep playing this video for now. We'll talk about that more after stream. Young Naki's 69. Thanks for being here. I hope you have a good night. I hope you enjoy the show. Autumn, you have nothing to be sorry about. And we will talk more. And we'll enjoy watching the next part of this video until I have something new to say about it.
I want to create this with my mind, but I can imagine a certain trauma, like in Marin when they ran out of water. Mm-hmm. It was interesting. Suddenly, all the ego barriers and everything, and neighbors were talking who'd never even met each other.
People were taking showers together.
Yeah, exactly. A whole process was happening. I'm sure marriages, babies were conceived, everything as a result.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, one day, actually, Joey, I will probably be able to just be there in like hard light. That would be kind of sweet. I mean, I'm looking forward to virtual reality for this kind of stuff too. It'll be kind of sick. Thanks for speaking up, Joey. I love hearing you in the chat. I hope you're enjoying the conversation if you're listening.
Of that trauma, of that denial. So a massive, significant trauma. I just got to tell you one scary image. There's a saint in India who lived up to about 1930, I think, or so. And one of his devotees said to me, one night he was sort of looking off in the distance, and he said, there'll come a time, he said, when you'll walk 5 miles, and he said, you'll sight the light from a fire of another person, and you'll be so happy to know another person exists. Quite a prediction. Isn't that quite a prediction? It's in there. It's just in there somewhere, you know.
Interesting.
The Cormac McCarthy vibes, The Road.
Yes, well, I agree. I think that what's going to happen is that...
Gentlemen, everything is fine with the evolution of coffee and consciousness. Both very good with you too.
You have come just at the right time.
Yes,
this is just what I want. How did you know? You tuned into a higher level.
These
A
are
higher
best
level,
parts.
level high, very high. Yes, I eat Bohemian mushroom soup today. You know? Are you eating?
We were just talking about that.
Oh yes, you like Bohemian mushroom soup?
I like
Let me
mushroom.
sprinkle liberally some water on your chalice, sir.
Oh, please
That is,
liberally
this one.
sprinkle his chalice,
Yes.
for sure.
Very good.
I am a
And,
cellist, so it's fine if you wish to.
Oh, I know you by your true name. You're Mr. Chalice, sir.
Yes.
Yes, very good. You also some water in your... No. I was confused. Let me put this here and have fun with the shaman strudel. Bohemian, very good.
Thank you very
You
much.
call when things are getting dangerous.
I'll call you.
I'll be right back.
Not to worry.
Good, good.
Can I ask you a personal question?
You can ask me anything you'd like, Terrance.
It's not a personal question to you. It's a personal question from me. How do you like having the projection of special identity constantly laid on you?
It's a sadhana. It's my practice.
I love Ram Dass
That's a
so
good
much.
answer. Although you didn't say how you liked it.
I like it to the capacity I have to transpose it. If I can't, I mean, sometimes these are going very fast. And to just keep it transposed, then I love it. I love it. It's like a fire. If the minute I start to lose it, it's a fucking drag. It really is. Because, I mean, you know, I was in a situation in Miami where all these women with blue eyes and coiffured hair were grabbing at the buttons of my jacket. And I thought, oh, I don't want this. Whatever this life is, I don't want to be part of this. I mean, this is, they eat your flesh, finally.
Sure.
But I realize at any time I can walk away from it. And it's my, you know, I'm a free agent.
So do you never get in a situation where you say, gee, I'd like to do X, but Ram Dass would never do that?
My stock and trade, or my coinage, is in sharing.
Yo, Miss Mortis, so good to see you. Thank you for being here tonight. I think you might have been here when I was listening to Terrance McKenna before, but tonight we're listening to Terrance McKenna talk with Ram Dass, who's another amazing thinker. You know, I love the question that Terrance McKenna just asked is like, do you ever come across situations where you want to do something, but Ram Dass wouldn't do that thing? I am so the most amazing thinker. You're an amazing lots of things, Autumn, and that's what makes you so amazing in general, is your aptitude for such a broad swath of things. I was actually just telling someone about your like sort of instructional design background, your like background of like sort of computer pedagogy and stuff, because I've actually been thinking a lot lately that I could like really enjoy teaching people like basic computer stuff. But I don't know, I was just like toying around with that idea, you know. But Miss Mortis, it's so good to see you. So we're listening to Ram Dass and Terrance McKenna, and so do you ever want to do something but the Ram Dass wouldn't do it? And like in a certain way I have the same question, because I'm someone who has a spiritual identity. I have a spiritual name of Anandamai Somadasi. But like for me, my life is all about like worshiping my whims and worshiping novelty. You could so be my business partner. I don't think I'll ever be a business owner. I would rather just be like, uh, well, I guess you didn't say owner. I don't know. You said business partner. But, yeah, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I don't know what my best job is. Streaming is probably my best job, because I'm I have a weak constitution. I have a very weak constitution, and so I'm not good at a lot of jobs. I'm pretty bad at capitalism. I feel very weak. Paige, is there anyone more beautiful than you, except for you, of course? I don't play the game of putting myself at the top of any list. I don't do that. I truly think that a lot of people are very beautiful. I don't put myself or anybody on pedestals. I think that we are all special, beautiful flowers, if you want to be a flower, and some people are moss. I'm kind of mossy, a little bit. Spongy. Okay, so yeah, are there times where you come across a time where you, like Ram Dass wouldn't do the thing that you want to do? You know, I'm somebody who like worships novelty. uh I'm more a mushroom. Fuck yeah. Fuck yes, mushrooms. I have my mushroom picture right here. I'll lift this up. You'll be able to see the mushroom behind me. It's right here. Maybe, oh, well, here, we'll go into full screen mode right here. Hold on. And there it is. Right there is my mushroom drawing. Right there. We can see that, and that's a good one. We'll go back to where we were here. And so Yeah, no, mushrooms are great. And obviously, Terrance McKenna is all about mushrooms, as is Ram Dass. And this conversation it gets better as it goes. But let's see what Ram Dass has to say about that.
Just those predicaments publicly. See, I've turned it into, right?
You've managed to, but public confession is the subtlest form of wastrelry.
Of what? So, yes.
I do it myself. Say, I'm not a good guy. Don't
Yo, Joey, thanks. My last roommate gave it to me. I love it.
follow me. I'm a bad guy. Then I leave the stage and say, now I can really be a bad guy.
Come up and see my holy pictures. That's one of my lines in my lecture.
I'd check out Ram Dass's holy pictures.
I don't. I'll tell you. I only see the stuff that would disturb me is inside myself. It has nothing to do with out there. Out there is just being what it is, and I'm responding with my own stuff. And if my stuff is my enemy, it's going to get too much for me. And if it isn't, depends on how much I can consume it, joyfully participate in it, passionately, all of it.
Well, you've sort of achieved a unique synthesis. I mean, you're almost a secular holy man, because I don't care much about what you believe or who you light candles to. Basically, I think I heard you describe yourself once as a kind man. And you've gotten incredible mileage out of that, because there are so few.
It's far out.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is...
Well, when you talked about coming back into the boundarylessness,
I mean, that's basically how I feel, and I've talked about that. I've literally talked about this like secular thing before, and how I'm someone who's very deeply religious. I have like a lot of strong beliefs about the world, but actually I live my life in a way that's extremely secular, because even though I do have strong beliefs about like the foundation of reality, I actually think that God just loves us no matter what we do, and that we're just supposed to like critically think about everything that we do and just try our hardest. And it's like that simple, and that to overthink it is kind of where a lot of the problem comes in. And so I'm very religious, but I'm also very secular, and this idea of just being a kind being is so fucking good. It's so awesome, and I think more and more people are picking up on that, and that's what's gonna happen. Like, I mean, I'm anti-work, so like we always talk about like, oh, because of like jobs, or because of robots, like there's not gonna be jobs for anyone. And it's like, fuck yes, like please, like just let robots do everything, and like let's go into a post-work society where our jobs are just to be good people and to just like, make mushroom paintings and listen to old lectures by Terrance McKenna and Ram Dass.
to me, that's the whole quality of compassion. Has that boundarylessness to it. It's that your suffering is my suffering, and your joy is my suffering, and you are me, and here we are. And if you hurt, I'm responding to your hurt, not because I'm a good guy and you're needful, just because this is suffering, and this is the response to suffering, and we're both part of the same thing. And that's the way I like to play it from. That's, to me, it's like riding a wave. It's the joy of just being part of the force of compassion in the universe.
Well, when you look, you mentioned in your talk the other night, since some people think the 90s are going to be a second turn of the spiral, I observed the 60s as a spear-carrying 14-year-old. I was down in the masses. What were the mistakes that are avoidable if there's a second chance?
They're inevitably going to be avoided. The first mistake was idealism. The first mistake, and the mistake was thinking that because you had seen it, you could just go like that and everybody else would see it. And you could just say, it's all love, and then everybody would love. I mean, it was a naivete. It was naivete. It was not working on ourselves deeply enough to be without the clinging of mind that made us try to use it. It was our lurking righteousness that got in our way.
Can you make a revolution, though, without an inner righteousness?
That's the far out question of where would the action come from? And there's this line in Buddhism that says, out of emptiness arises compassion. And what I experience is that there is a way in which I can sit down in front of a truck or feed a person or go make love or go surf, and there is an appropriateness in every one of those acts. And for me to hear that, I've really got to shut up. And my work is to keep shutting up, to hear which one it is. And if it is a revolution, so be it. So be it. You know the story of the monk and the army general? You know, and the army general's disemboweling all the monks.
I love this. This is like literally one of my favorite stories of all time. So this is like a wicked good one to hear. I think about this almost every single day of my life, and I hope that if you're here and you're listening right now and you feel like capitalism has you down, remember this story. When you think about like the oligarchs, the shadow oligarchs that fucking oppress us, remember this story. Remember this like fucking monk. Oh, it's such a good story.
And his reputation has spread far and wide as a cruel, cruel man. And he comes into this village and he says to his adjutant, tell me what's happening. The adjutant said, all the people are frightened, they're bowing down to you. All the monks in the monastery have fled to the hills but one monk. And the general is outraged about this one monk. And he gets up and he goes to the monastery and he pushes open the doors of the monastery and he walks into the courtyard, and there's the monk standing in the middle of the courtyard. And he walks up to him and he says, don't you know who I am? I could take my sword and run it through your belly without blinking an eye. And don't you know who I am? I could have your sword run through my belly without blinking an eye. That's great. Good. That's the place from which revolutions can heal, rather than just starting the cycle all over again.
Then this is the place we never found in the 60s. I mean, I've always said it was all well and good.
We reduced it to revolution, and although we had the taste of evolution, we reduced it to revolution.
Well, in the day they came with machine guns, we didn't stand like that monk. Everybody said, oh my God, you could get killed playing this game. And I flew to Laos and India for 3 years.
But already we had produced the they by being so busy being we.
True.
Because so that they even noticed we. The fact that they noticed us was because we were busy making statements instead of just being it.
So maybe, I mean, this is just occurring to me, that being in a place like Prague, the real thing we have to learn here is how to make velvet revolutions, non-confrontational.
Exactly right. Exactly right. That's why I admire Havel so much. That's why he's way up there in my, because he's a compassionate leader. He's got wisdom, not just knowledge. He is tuned. There's a quality of his heart that feels present. And he said in this op-ed article I just read, his letter last month.
I've read it too.
And you know, at one point he said, we have to allow the naturalness to come back, the personal stuff, the heart stuff. I mean, he was right there with all of the...
Do you see, I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I don't. Let me preface it by saying, do you see anybody who could play that role for the millions of kids in England and the United States who are now asking, where do we go from here?
That's the important question.
No.
Is
And
that
he has
good
no
or
answer.
bad?
I guess the situation hasn't demanded the emergence of that being it.
Of those kinds of
Because it can't be anybody that comes forward and says, I'm it.
Oh no, it has to be someone who the people
But the
say
situation
you're
can
it.
demand the formation. I mean, you watch, does the man make the time or does the time make the man? You know, and you can feel how what took a certain person 20 years, like to ride a bicycle, somebody later on can ride a bicycle like that because the whole culture rides bicycles. There's some process where the situation emerges where the person has to come forward and they're just forced out. I mean, I go and I look at all the senators that are running for this or that, and I go to breakfast with them and I listen and I tune. And Jerry Brown I hung out with, and I said, you know, he's got interesting ideas, but his heart, my God, he's got work to do. This poor guy, he's suffering so much. And I love him, and I want those ideas out, but I want him to work on himself, and so I
But
don't
do
see
you
anybody else.
really care in terms of political terms whether Jerry Brown makes himself palatable to an electorate?
I care because I work with the Mayan widows in Guatemala, and I feel like I'm representing them, and our government, our administration's policies are killing them and their children and their husbands. And some way I've got to play my part as a member of a society that is imposing so much suffering on so many people. I can't just walk away and say, oh, I'm helping the nice Mayans. I've also got to realize I'm an American citizen that's hurting the Mayans, and I've got to play both games to change one way and to do the other thing.
So there's a kind of, not to go egghead here, but a kind of coincidentia positorum, because on one level what you're saying is, it's all right, don't worry. And on another level, you clearly are involved in a search for defining your role, where you would do some good.
Optimum judo move.
Optimum judo move. So it isn't enough to just say the system will take care of itself.
But I am part of the system that is taking care of itself.
So it's a sense of acting without acting through self.
It's being not identified with the actor and not being identified with the fruits of the action. To me, one of my basic texts is the Bhagavad Gita, and those are the two injunctions.
Mm-hmm.
The Bhagavad Gita.
And they're very weird. How you do an act when you're not identified with being the actor and you're not attached to the fruits.
The best book.
I lead this funny, continuous paradox that suffering stinks and suffering's grace.
Everything is
and
all
I live
paradoxes.
with both of those all the time.
Well, I think most people do, don't you think?
I think most people have taken a position.
Oh, that suffering is bad, they hate it, they want it.
This whole suffering, sucks and is good thing. I don't know if I buy into the suffering being good, but there are a lot of fucking things that both suck and are good, and, transness is definitely kind of like that. Cause I don't ever want to hurt people's feelings when I talk negatively about my own trans experience, but for me, being trans has always been a very difficult experience, and it's led to a lot of hardship for me. So I really often wish that I was not trans, but at the same time, just this is probably self-evident to most people, honestly, it's just that it also makes me who I am too. And so it's weird just balancing all these paradoxes, because that's in so many parts of our life, for sure. But this sort of Buddhist ascetic version where it's about suffering, I don't know, I think we should be allowed to whine. I was talking to my landlady about this the other day, and it's I'm a fucking whiner, and when I'm tired and when I'm cold and when I'm hungry, I just want to whine, and I don't even need people to listen to me. I should be allowed to whine, in my opinion. That's what this channel is.
Keep it away
from
from
grace, then it's lovely.
Well, and then the great masses of people never really draw the distinction, because for them suffering.
Right, Miss Mortis? I think that's a fairly common sentiment, but I actually do have a lot of friends for whom transness is a relatively positive thing. They've just found themselves in it, and I think that that's really awesome. I tend to really love people who embrace it in that way, but it's just not really my own personal experience. Oh, the winning part. Oh yeah, that too, I guess. Yeah, sometimes I forget how much I actually say. I'll ramble on and on. I just say so much. Well, here we are. Okay, let's finish this talk, because I have other stuff I want to show after this. I love streaming so much.
Suffering is like air and water.
It's life. It's life.
It comes with
it's life.
Burying the many children you bear.
That's why I found in the villages in India less suffering than I found around the middle class in America.
Certainly less whining.
Well, less preoccupation with what they don't have.
Well, they have a philosophy of reincarnation that must sustain them.
There is something else that's feeding them.
Where we have a philosophy of, if you don't get it now, you never will.
Exactly. we threw out in the councils of Nicaea, Trent, and Constantinople. Just the thing that would have healed. But we did it so that the church could have power over.
Well, I think it was Friedrich Nietzsche who said there was only one Christian and they crucified him.
Yes, exactly. Oh, God, that's so good. That's such a good line. Here comes.
Now, have you been waiting for me? Because I'm the waiter, I need to wait.
We've been looking everywhere for you, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've been waiting for the here and now, but that was somewhere else.
Well,
but can I help you here? It's,
you can help us here, and you can help us
now.
there.
Very good. I'll help you here. I hope you enjoy my conversation. No, I mean,
Fine. Do we get a check, or is this all on the house?
No, I am the check. I am the check. This is Prague, my sir. God is everywhere, but Czechland is here, you know? Okay. I keep one more bottle for you in the refrigerator.
Hold it in
But not in the
reserve.
here and now. In the somewhere else, maybe later. But see you.
I like cake.
Well, I was asking you, what did we do wrong in the 60s?
Yeah, okay.
One thing that has occurred to me, and I certainly felt it with my friends, was we assumed it would go on forever. We had no notion of window of opportunity.
Yes.
We just thought we'd blown the doors off the hinges and they would never be put back on.
Yeah.
To me, the most amazing transformation in my lifetime is not the revolution of the 60s, but the counter-revolution of the 70s, where they managed to put the cuckoo clock back together again, even though we'd kicked it all
Did they or
over
didn't they? That's what I'm... see, you keep thinking there was that opportunity and it closed, and I think it happened then. And all of the 70s and 80s, and all that was this kind of reverberation to this process.
You don't think that you've ever been like, I wish I wasn't trans. I love that I've transformed from what I was. My suffering around transness is external, and I've known this long enough that I don't put it on myself. I do feel the horrid gender dysphoria, but it's always through someone else's gaze and words and actions. Oh, I like that last sentence. But folks who find suffering in being you are valid. Oh. Oh. Weird. Oh, it's not a link. It like came out as a link for some reason. I think that that's a very nice sentiment. Thank you for sharing. Ah, hugs all around.
And that I'm here and you're here and we're both still here and it's the 90s, and I got a lot of people that, I talk now in middle America, and I look at my audiences and they've never taken dope, they've never read Eastern holy books or anything, and I just say the same stuff I was saying in the 60s that I was saying to people with flowers and big pupils. And these people in the middle, they're corseted, nice people, and they're going, and I think, oh, look, it happened. And I was looking the other way.
Well, that's true.
And that's where you're looking for the resonance of a person to come forth that speaks from that consciousness with the assurance of the truth of it.
Right.
That's what I think. Why all this business of a Christ figure. I mean, I see how seductive it is, but how we got very cynical because we projected into such a person a purpose. Yes, a purpose. Instead of just that light forming out of the needs of the moment to create that light to which, because I find if I speak from a true enough for a moment when I can do it, from a true enough place in my heart, it reduces the paranoia, the subtle veils of paranoia in another person. I don't do it to them, it just falls away. Because they're testing, and they don't get from me anything that says like that. And I just watch them like a flower, like that. And I think, boy, I give a lot to just be that instrument. That's worth working for.
Well, that's a great role.
But this is the role for everyone else. That's the role. That's what I said to the ITA. I said, just don't talk about it.
exemplify
let's do it.
it.
Let's be it.
Do
for
it.
God's sakes.
Well, Blake said a wonderful thing. He said, if I can get it right, if the truth can be told so as to be understood, it will be believed.
There it is.
Right.
I was quoting that
Exactly.
the other
Exactly.
night.
So all you have to do is say it.
Exactly. When can you say it simply enough? Is it only said in silence simply enough? Or are there words? Or is there music? Or is there what? Or is there...
There's words, there's music, there's silence, there's gesture, because it's always going to exceed one's grasp.
See, my mantra is the Gandhi line, my life is my message.
Yes, you said that the other night. That's very good.
Of every level of being.
I think I'm at a little lower level because I'm very aware that
Someone I dated told me that they thought that I was a better person than them once. Like Terrance is saying this to Ram Dass. It's kind of weird when people say that. He just said, I think I'm at a lower level. It's so weird to me. Like, when people say, like, I don't like being put on a pedestal, but, like, I am always trying my hardest, too. And, like, that is worthy of admiration, I think. But then, like, also, it feels weird to be, like, worshipped. But also, I love being worshipped because I like being fawned over a lot. So, I do like it when people, like, compliment me and stuff. But it's also weird. It's also weird. And the world is weird. The world is just filled with so many paradoxes. Holy shit. So strange.
I have to struggle to have to say my life is my message. I would almost rather say my message is my message. Please don't look at my life because I'm a fallible human being and I'm constantly fucking
you see
up.
How that weakens
You're not
the
fucking up, Terrance.
You see how that quality means that the message doesn't come from the root, the central. There's a way in which it waffles.
True.
And that's the thing. I really can't. Once I saw the possibility of that, I said, why waffle? What is worth holding on to that's worth waffling about?
Well, I once said to Leo Zeff, I'm sure you knew Leo, I said to him in a meeting, I said, Leo, you're finished, you're completed, you're baked. Me, I'm half-baked. And I hope that the rest of my life will finish the baking process.
You're not half-baked. That's what's interesting. I mean, when you and I talk, you and I hear each other perfectly.
I'm both baked,
True.
but not baked
And so
enough
where are we hearing
at
each other
the same
from?
time.
I mean, then we each play our game the way we play our game, and you can play your game saying I'm half-baked. That's your strategy if you choose.
It's a mercurial strategy.
Yes, I understand that.
Here's to Mercurius.
More curious.
You have somehow been able to survive the gauntlet of American media in a way that your colleagues and comrade in arms didn't seem to. They either had to step away from their leader role or they transmuted it into some lesser thing. So now Allen Ginsberg is poet laureate, Tim Leary is, keeps the club scene in Los Angeles interesting. Yes. But you, in a sense, never backed down, never retooled. You were also not first among equals back in the original thing. But when all is said and done,
I was always the second. In a way, it's like birds. If you stay just behind the lead bird, you don't have to do much. You're just kind of riding along on the.
Well, and Ralph tells me to be third is the real good position. It's like being the young prince. You won't ever be king.
It was only until about 5 years ago that in the past 5 years they've stopped introducing me as Tim Leary's partner.
Right.
And which, I think that was great. I see him as one of my, first teachers, great teachers.
Uh-huh.
And, but I don't have the fun for me. It says, I have no model of myself. I don't know who I am. I don't know whether I'm an anachronism from the 60s or I'm just about to happen.
A prophet to be.
Yes, I have no idea. And I don't care. That's what I saw. Because either of them, all the things you get in either way are a drag and they're beautiful, equally.
No, well, I think you're a prophet to be. I think we all are. That
We all are, yes.
as Bilbo Baggins once said, the greatest adventure still lies ahead. I believe that. I'll
Aw.
believe that when they lower my
I love
box.
that.
I'll believe
I
it.
do too. Exactly. Good. Exactly.
Well, thanks for coming by. I'm sure you had many, many demands on you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Pleasure.
Good.
I was afraid of you up until now. Now I'm delighted to
No,
be with you.
don't be afraid of me. The people who are afraid of me don't know me, or they
No.
know me better than
I
you
know.
ever will.
And those are two of my favorite thinkers ever.
I should say, I guess, a little bit about myself.
I should say a little bit about myself. Terrance is so funny. Oh, just in his own literal existence, he's so good. Oh, if you're here, thank you so very much. It is a Monday night and Monday evening, and we're chilling. We just finished watching Terrance, Mckenna, and Ramdas go back and forth in the gauntlet, and I have some other stuff we'll watch and some other activities planned for later. If you're new here, which you probably aren't, but if you are on page, and this is Gender Blending, and we talk about philosophy, transness, we talk about life, we talk about whatever's on my mind, more or less. And I feel like lately I've been able to like stretch out a little bit more with my streaming in a certain way. I'm like really making myself at home, both in my new home and also on the internet in this role as transmitter of a thought stream. And oh, yo! I bumped my head. You too?
I bumped my head. You too?
Hollowed Rat 93. Yo, thanks for joining. I don't know if 93 was the year of the rat, or if there's any correlation between those two things, but Hollowed Knight is a great game, and Hallowed Rat seems like a fine animal. I'm Paige, this is Gender Blending, and we just finished watching a chat between Terrance, Mckenna, and Ramdas, who are just two great, like, sort of thought leaders. And I love talking about philosophy on this channel. Later tonight, I was thinking about talking about, like, a little bit of philosophy and psychology. But the next thing that I wanted to dive into is actually a little bit off the deep end for me. This is something I didn't ever think that I was going to play on stream, but I've been thinking, like, you know what? Like, I've really been pushing this, like, niche sort of, like, angle on my stream where I just play the things that I like, and I just, like, don't even, like, pay it too much mind. And there's someone out there who's, kind of, really important to me. Now, before I even get into what it is, I should just clarify that, like, I am really a skeptic myself at the end of the day. And one of my favorite lines about skepticism is that a skeptic is first and foremost skeptical of their own views. So I have a lot of views about the universe, but I also think that the universe isn't even meant to be understood. Terrance Mckenna says that the universe is a living mystery. And it's actually, like, kind of a like white supremacist ideal to even try to grasp at understanding it all. But at the same time, I do believe that for the sake of novelty, technology, and understanding of the universe, you have lots of views too, Miss Mortis. I'd love to hear them. Like, you could please share if you ever feel like just, like, writing down stuff or thinking. But basically, I have more thoughts about some things than others, just like everyone else in the universe. But this is a particular video that I'm going to share, and I actually don't buy it. Like, for the record, I do buy into metaphysics. I think that there are things in the universe that we don't understand, and that would seem like magic to us. but I'm going to be playing something from a channeler. I know I shared some before, but trying to type them all out is a lot. Oh yeah, no, I mean, no pressure. Just like if you ever like think of anything. But yeah, I'm gonna play a channeler tonight. Just for a minute. I probably won't play it for very long. But this is someone named Pat Rodegast, and so she channels a spirit. And so what that means is that this is literally a spirit that has lived before, and they are channeled through Pat. So Pat is speaking, but it's Emmanuel's words, and the two of them are sort of like a team and sharing this message. And this is the way that I think about it, right? Is that if you're here, you're on this channel tonight, then fate brought you here, right? And so actually, even though I don't believe in channeling, I do believe in things like divination, and I do believe in things like astrology and fate, and I do believe that there is such a thing as goddesses of fate and fortune. And I think that by sheer chance, if you were here tonight and you came on this night when I'm going to play some Pat Rodegast, which is something I very rarely do, then that means that maybe this message actually does have something for you. Because I truly believe, I truly believe that if you give yourself to the universe and you open up to it, then these words will have meaning to you that are deeper than things that I could even understand. And that's how I listen to channeling, is instead of thinking of it as a literal spirit talking to me, I think about it as the universe talking to me through random chants, a lot like a random computer generator. Consider these words and see how they hit your spirit. And you know, I think that it's some of the most empowering words that I've ever heard. Like, a lot of it like makes me feel like I'm very capable of taking on challenges. And so this is something I'm going to be taking a lot of challenges here soon. I already am, of course. So it's like just an empowering thing. Also, it's just trippy as fuck, by the way. Like, the audio itself is just trippy, so it's kind of fun to listen to. We'll probably listen to it for like 10 to 15 minutes. It's going to be like kind of short, and then we're going to move on to a separate thing. Hallowed Rat, entertaining concept channeling, even if it's all just humbug, right? Well, yeah, so like, exactly. Like, it's more like it's just letting it happen. So I've talked a lot about like astrology and my views on it here. I'm actually someone who like truly believes in astrology, but in like a very practically minded and physically oriented way, where I truly do believe that our consciousness begins in this universe in a physical matrix of space and time, and based on that physical location and the time itself and the context of your life, you actually literally have a finite set of actions possible between your beginning and your end. And that's what astrology is. Astrology is describing patterns that are more or less likely based on the setting and the conditions that have led to and are coming from your life. Anyways, so I'm gonna play some Pat Rodegast, and she's a channeler. Hallowed Rat, I hope you like it. This is something I don't normally do. I don't normally play. I normally do more like philosophical stuff. This is more like lovey-dovey spiritual. So it's almost like a bread. Like, too much of this, I think, will make you soft in a certain way. Like, I like listening to philosophers and scientists and stuff because it's sharp. It like cuts your mind, and it like cuts all the like thinking down to the most efficient parts. And this is very lovey-dovey. Like, I think that this is like empowering and it's nice to listen to, but it also like it can lead to like thinking like that, like sort of impractically, or like being a little bit lazy. But please listen to it and let me know what you think. Her name is Pat Rodegast, and she channels Emmanuel, and I'm gonna do the most recent video so that it's hopefully something that I haven't heard. Now, Pat Rodegast actually is not with us anymore, but you know, the videos still come up, and like you find ones that only have 100 views. So let's check this one out. This is Who Am I Now? Who Am I Now? Emmanuel Workshop, April 1987. we could talk about how you've channeled before. Oh, interesting. You've channeled. Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that at some point. So we're not going to listen to the whole thing. I'm going to just like click like in the middle because that's a part of this like randomness of the internet, and we'll probably listen to 15 or 20 minutes, and I'll mention if anything resonates with me, and I'd be interested if anything resonated for all of you.
What was my learning supposed to be?
Let's go back to the beginning of this person's question, however.
And why I had... I don't understand why I had my automobile accident. I wasn't hurt. Was my learning... What was my learning supposed to be?
Well, one very obvious thing is that you can have an automobile accident and not get hurt. That what seems to be chaos isn't chaos at all, is it? And that
Isn't that so interesting? I was just saying that this is like almost like this is almost like a spell of chaos, and she just said what would seem to be chaos is not chaos at all. Like, I mean, I'm telling you, like, the world is a fucking strange place.
there are those who can quite simply slip and fall on their own kitchen floor and die. It is to give you a sense both of value, self-value, protection, purpose, and freedom. That's it. What is violence and anger? The voices of fear. Two of the many voices of fear. And beneath fear, there is always the voice of love. The voice of love that wasn't heard. The voice of love that does not dare speak again in its own tenor, in its own vocabulary, in its own sweetness. Violence and anger are the defenses of a wounded child that say, you did not hear me, you will not honor me, and my heart is broken. And because your world has given more permission to violence and anger than it has to love, consider that. Because violence and anger are more socially acceptable than love, this is the language that is spoken. Because fear has been given more credence than faith, then fear is heard. Something to be considerate of. When someone speaks to you in anger, look beneath. Let your hearts hear what is really being said. Do not let your fear honor that fear, and so a useless, senseless dialogue exists. Go beneath. Ask yourself, where is the broken heart? And why can it not speak? What have I, in my humanness, presented that allows only anger? And where am I, since everyone is a mirror for someone else, where am I afraid to speak my love? And where do I use anger as the acceptable vocabulary of self-representation?
Do I dare trust that this situation can be solved in a loving way, that regardless of potential for hurt, it will be okay for all concerned? Or should I close it off once and for all?
You know perfectly well that closing it off isn't going to work. As long as there is a breath within you that says there must be another way, you will explore the other way. In the name of love. Absolutely, in the name of love. Oh, perhaps also in the name of curiosity a little bit. After all, life is an adventure, but in the name of love. Can love resolve this conflict? When love is there, there is no conflict. There are only clear decisions made with the love of self, the primary consideration, and this is as it must be. Until you can speak self-love, not self-defense, not arrogance.
Well, Miss Mortis, I hope that you have a really good night. I'm sorry that your connection has been wonky. It can already be like kind of hard to hear some of these videos because some of the quality is low for it. But I hope that you have a good night, and thank you very much for being here. It's always nice to have you in chat. We'll probably keep listening to this for like 5 more minutes. It's kind of like a big like virtual hug is what this kind of sounds like to me.
But self-caring, until you can honor self to that point, then there is always the confusion that can create hurt. But the moment that you can say, this is who I am, this is what I respect, and this is what I need, without any need for defense, you will be amazed and delighted how quickly all things fall into place. The voice of loving truth carries with it a most remarkable power. It brings all else into bold relief. When the light of truth enters, all distortion is cast upon the wall in its vast grotesqueness of shadow, and one simply perceives it. No words need to be spoken beyond those of self-representation, for everyone without exception is able to hear truth.
Well, it's not resonating with me tonight as much as it normally does, but if you like it, that's Pat Redogast, and that's channeling. And I do like listening to it on occasion when I'm feeling like kind of down or whatever. But you know, I'm thinking that actually there was something that I kind of wanted to just talk about on stream that I've done before, but it's been a minute since I actually did it. And so I'm thinking about doing it again. And what that is a PowerPoint that is on the experience of family estrangement, which sounds kind of like boring, but I actually think it's like pretty interesting. And it actually kind of like gets more interesting every time I tell it because I have more realizations about all of it. And so maybe some of you will find it to be enjoyable. You just had a huge falling away from your family last winter. Yeah, so I hope that this like feels like poignant for you, because like honestly this is something I can talk about for a really long time. So let me go to my main screen here. So this is family estrangement. This is my little talk, and if you're ever interested, you can actually check out, I can give you this stuff. It's actually on my Discord though, in my like stream references part of the chat. I think you can see like all my PowerPoints, but I talk about family estrangement a lot. I think it's actually a really important topic, and I think people don't realize both how common it is and also how painful the experience is. And this sort of PowerPoint isn't actually limited to just the experience of family estrangement. It's actually on all forms of estrangement and rejection. But it's a really good, I think it's a really good topic to talk about, and I have a lot of thoughts on it that I think are relatively unique. So I thought I'd just run through this because I really enjoyed doing this on stream the last time I did it. And I might like write on screen while I do this as well. But yeah, this is my family estrangement thing. And so I do have like a little table of contents here. And so since when you do these sort of things, you often do the format of telling people what you're going to tell them. And then you tell them, and then you tell them what you told them. I normally start this out by just saying, well, what are we going to actually talk about with regard to estrangement? Well, I'm going to start out by just sharing a little bit of my personal experience with estrangement. And then I'm going to relate like a lot of the stuff that we talk about with this, like back to the story that I share, sort of. And then we'll talk about basic human needs and with regard to relationships and how we can help support people or ourselves in sort of maintaining relationships. I'm gonna put on some music, by the way. All the music on the channel is me. I went to school for music, and I love it a lot. It's one of my favorite things. So, then we're going to talk about what human experience language is. Most people have never heard of that, and some people don't even like it, I found out. But I'm a big fan, personally. Okay, then there's ostracism. We're going to talk about the experience of ostracism, which I think is like a pretty helpful thing to hear about for a lot of people. And then probably my favorite part of this presentation, one of my favorite things to talk about in general, is the dimensions of estrangement. That's kind of like the primary part of this like whole sort of presentation. So that's the dimensions of estrangement. Talk about some myths. This stuff's probably gonna be less important on the stream. This is more for my workplace that I made this for, but we'll talk about some myths. Talk about the experience in children versus more older people. Talk about some hard conversations around it, the process of reconciliation, and some questions. And so we can talk about my story. It's my story. And it's at this point where I'm like, oh gosh, I have a lot to say, and I didn't really think about talk about my like super youth when I was gonna stream tonight, but I could talk about this a little, and I'll try and focus on when I was like a little bit older. But I had a pretty difficult upbringing as a trans youth. I didn't really have a vocabulary to talk about my trans experience with my parents, and it was something that led to a lot of difficulty in our family. I was essentially just like labeled as someone with a problem and forced to take a lot of psychotropic drugs, when in reality I really probably would have just benefited from someone like asking me about like gender or explaining it to me, but I didn't really have that outlet when I was younger. And so there was a lot of tension in our family, and my parents made a lot of mistakes raising us. But I try at this point in my life, I think so many people have like issues with their family. I try not to be like melodramatic. Like my parents have made mistakes, and it was really difficult growing up. But really, basically, the worst thing that they did was kick me out. And so I was homeless when I was pretty young. I was a teenager. And I had graduated high school, but I had barely started college, and I was living at home, and my parents kicked me out, and I couldn't afford school. They were not helping me pay for college, and So I ended up joining the army, and the army was extremely terrible. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to transition. I did know that I was trans, but I joined because I just needed to pay for college, essentially. But I was separated from my family this whole time, and I never felt very particularly close to them. But several years ago, after not talking to my parents for about 13 years, I decided to reconcile with them because I was diagnosed with a chronic illness. And there was a lot that led up to my experience of reconciliation with my parents. And I can talk as in depth about like the dynamics of my family as much as you might be curious about, or what led to my reconciliation with them. But the only reason I say this stuff is because I made this PowerPoint out of the rationale that I experienced this myself. And I have a lot of very personal experience with this, but I've also researched it a lot. And I have a lot of references that I can share and a lot of materials that talk about this experience academically. I've studied a lot of statistics with regard to this. And so I share all this to sort of talk about my own experience in it so that you know where I'm coming from. But it was a really hard decision. I still have a really difficult relationship with my whole family, but generally we are at least in a place where there's no open animosity anymore. I mean, I kind of just don't talk to them very much, but they did help me out recently. And I'm grateful to have a family that can support me at all, because I know people have nothing. And so it's a really hard experience. It goes unrecognized a lot, and it has a lot of manifestations. And that's why I felt like I needed to create this PowerPoint. Okay, so this is a quote that I really, really like. It's, imagine a space so safe that you could say the worst thing that you've ever done, and everyone around you would love you more for it. And to me, that's actually like one of the most empowering quotes about healing that I've ever read, because that's like what I want this channel to feel like. I mean, I think that there's a lot of spaces in the world that feel like this, but you really need to find them if you want to heal. I'm very lucky to live on a farm right now that is outside of the city, and it's extremely quiet here and very conducive to healing. And I still feel like tired all the time, even though I like really have a very well provided for life right now. It's still really hard, and so I'm really motivated to help other people since I'm like somewhat provided for myself. And the way that I think that we can do that is by creating spaces like this where it's completely non-judgmental. Because I think that a lot of people who feel estranged also feel judged, because there's feelings of rejection and ostracization there that we'll talk about. So, how do you support someone who's experiencing family estrangement? Well, one of the things that you can do is just listen, because the thing is, and we'll talk about this more, but you can never really understand like everything that's going on in the person's life anyways. And so like really, if someone's going through an experience of family estrangement, then like listening is like one of the main things that you can do, because there's often little choice in the matter. But if there is choice, you can empower their own self-determination and remind them that, you know, we can manage our social circles and spend time with the people that we want. I used to when I did social work, and I'll tell you all on this stream right now that one of the things in life that I love so much is that once you know someone, then for better or for worse, then you know them until you die, literally. For better or for worse, you just know people forever. And so you have the decision of whether you want to keep talking to them or not, but you can't not know them anymore. And you have choices as to like what your relationship is going to be with those people. whether it's going to be to never talk to them again, or whether it will be to talk to them in certain circumstances. Okay, so you can encourage people if they're afraid or if they're unsure. You can provide reassurance. You can practice developing social skills. Again, I made this PowerPoint for a social work setting, so yo, Mr. D, what's going on? So good to see you. Thanks for dropping by. This probably, it might seem like a little bit silly. It's like a little bit lighter than the philosophy that we were talking the other night. But tonight I'm talking about the experience of family estrangement. It's something I feel really passionate about because I was actually homeless as a youth, and I was estranged from my family for many years, but I recently sort of rekindled that, and this was something I would talk about a lot when I used to do social work. Hallowed Rat, you dip your toes with transitioning, and all the love that I grew up with for 28 years disappeared, but I got through it, and it made me tougher. Wow. Yeah, so this is the thing that I'm talking about right now. I have a lot of stuff on the agenda for tonight. I plan on streaming for several more hours. But I really love this PowerPoint in particular because every time I've ever done it, people have told me like, wow, there's actually like a lot in here that I like wish that people told me earlier, because I've thought a lot about the experience of estrangement. Yeah, so I did start talking to my family again. They kicked me out when I was a teenager. I was an older teenager. My landlady actually was homeless when she was 14 years old, which is just unbelievable to me. I was 18 years old when I was kicked out of my house. So I had a car and I had a job and I was going to college at the time. So I was like mildly provided for, but I didn't talk to my parents until I was 29 years old. I'm 32 right now. Nobody knows my age. I should have said I was like 28 or something. Not that it matters. Yeah, so, just while I'm talking, I might as well go back to my only webcam. So I didn't talk to them until I was 29, and I got diagnosed with a chronic illness, and I was sort of facing my own mortality a little bit, and I'm gonna be like fine. It's kind of a lifelong thing, but it's not gonna cause me to die right away here. But it was a really hard time for me, and I realized I didn't want to die without like I didn't want to die with this animosity between my parents and I. And it was this really weird situation because like I actually talked to my parents again, and to be completely honest, I was going into this situation like, okay, I was a child when they kicked me out. Maybe I was the one who was being melodramatic. I was trying to be as mature as I possibly could, and I was like, you know, my parents are human, and people make mistakes, and it's completely like understandable. Like I was a hard child to be around because I was so upset at the world, which is so true. But then I went and I saw my parents, and I was like, oh my God, it was worse than I thought. I met my parents, and I was like flooded with everything. My parents are the people who I thought they were. My parents like are just kind of like, you know, not great. Like I don't think that they were suited for parenthood, and it was really hard. I still wonder why I talk to them. They still make like they still like they're trying, to their credit, but their attempts at trying are pretty weak and very limited, and they still demonstrate that they care very little. So it's still a very tenuous relationship. But the thing is though, is that I do feel like I'm in a place where like I have like a semblance of like peace with my relationship, where it's just like, okay, whatever, like I just don't even care anymore because like we've made our peace, right? And that's what has like really prompted me to make this, is I feel like I understand like estrangement a little more. I truly feel in control of my social circle. I talk to the people who I want to, and I don't talk to the people who I don't want to. And it's that simple because I've done like pruning. I've done like pruning of my relationships, and I just surround myself with people that I love. And I don't like shit talk people I dislike. I just don't talk to them. And frankly, like I think that people catch on pretty quickly that I just give people the cold shoulder. It's that simple. And, you know, people want to stay on my good side because, like, I'm a fun person to be around. And if I stop talking to them, people will always, like, miss me. And so, like, I'm in a very blessed position. And I think that everyone deserves this autonomy over their social circle. And so that's kind of a big part of estrangement is like autonomy, honestly. But we'll talk about all this. So it's not philosophy. It's not like deep philosophy. We were talking about like metaphysics and nature and time the other night. This is much more rooted in day-to-day life, but it's very pragmatic. And I really love talking about everything on this stream. So I hope that you find it like interesting. And after this, we're going to go back to more trippy stuff. So that'll be fun too. I'll go through this and then I'm going to take a quick break. This will probably take like 30 minutes, but there's some good parts to it, I promise, coming up here. So if you're supporting someone or you're going through this, you just got to remember that if someone's supporting you, then that's not a substitute for natural supports. I've actually talked about this like kind of a lot at like social work, but like, you know, your friends, like if you think about your friends, like just your best friends from school, from work, whatever, the people you hang out with on the weekends, like those people can be moral supports for you. But if you do that all the time, then like it's not fair to them. That's just the reality of the situation. And it fucking sucks. Like you should be able to go to your friends for emotional support. But the reality of the situation is, and this is just a truth of the world, is that if you complain to people about your problems too much, then like they deserve to be paid for it. Like we just need therapists. That's like what a therapist is for. And so there's like a give and take, because a good friend would listen to you, but also a good friend wouldn't ask someone to like listen to them all the time, right? And so like when I say not a substitute for natural supports, it's like the whole point of a therapist is that they are there to like listen to you. And so if you're supporting someone who's going through family estrangement, then like you're not there to be their friend, and like you shouldn't act like their friend, because like what they need is someone who like will just be like a peer to them, a friend. And like people need both therapists and friends basically is what I'm saying. You are very aware of your social condition. Yeah, basically, that's what I'm saying. Half the journey is figuring out what's going on. This will make more sense as we go on here. Okay, so this is a really important thing, right? Why is this so hard to talk about? And I don't even think people realize that estrangement is a difficult thing to talk about. And that's the first thing. Hear me out on this, okay? Like, hear me out on this. This is going to be something that, like, I think is hard for some people to, like, totally put their mind in. But, like, as a musician, this is, like, exactly how I feel it. Is that you can't play a song, you can't play a musical song unless you can sing it in your own head. You have to be able to hear the notes and the melody in your head. And in order for you to talk to someone about something, you have to have it intelligible in your own mind. You have to be able to describe it. And a lot of the times when people are experiencing estrangement, they can't even wrap their own heads around it. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And half the journey is figuring out what's going on. Exactly. That's like exactly what this slide's about. Because there's variables in other people. That's ambiguity and unknowns. That's this first one. And so the thing is that you never know whether people are upset with you or not. You never know if people love you. You never know what other people are thinking. And so if someone's talking to you about estrangement, especially, then that's two like layers away. I forget what they call that, 2 steps away. Like you're talking to someone who's estranged from someone. You don't even know the other person. You don't know why they're estranged. There's a lot of variables in other people. And like in a relationship, like if you're dating someone, like you never know what the person you're dating is thinking, even if it feels like you do. And so that causes a lot of ambiguity. And so that makes it hard to talk about estrangement, because you have to make assumptions about other people, or you have to, but like simultaneously you have to realize that like you don't know too. And it's just like really weird. So it's interdependently related to other issues in your life. Because, like, for example, your estrangement might be related to drug use. But in my case, my estrangement was related to homelessness. For some people, they might be homeless, but even still talk to their family. And, like, so you could be homeless, but not estranged. And so, like, estrangement is something that is interdependent, intersectional almost to other issues. Oh, yeah, intersectionality and complexity. Okay, part of what makes estrangement hard is having told the story many times. I hear people all the time tell the same stories over and over, and that just makes it like harder every single time. You start forgetting details, you start stressing certain details, and it just hurts your heart to say it so many times. It makes you exhausted. A lack of trust. You can be betrayed. You might be misunderstood when you try and talk about things. People might not trust you. There might not be an apparent solution in a social situation. All these things make it really hard to even talk about what the estrangement is. There's no space to talk about it. This channel is a space to talk about it. If you're here right now, I'm here talking about estrangement because I want to be a support for you. So you can share here and we can talk about it if you want to, but you also don't have to, of course. And then embarrassment or shame, because that can really happen, especially for parents who have lost their children, actually. There's a lot of parents who are estranged by their children, whether it's for good reason or not, and they have a lot of embarrassment or shame. And maybe they should feel it, but like if you're like a chud, but like at the same time, it's just true that it exists. It could also be oppression too. And then there's this little Leo Tolstoy quote that I threw in here. Happy families are all like, every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. I love that quote. How long did I go without talking to my family? 11 years. Because it was 18 until 29 years old. And when I started talking to them again, it was like, it was a really hard decision for me. And I had no idea what it was like. I had no idea what it was going to be like to talk to them again. And like, I don't know, it was, I'm not like, I'm, my parents like fucked me up, so it was like a really weird relationship, but like I'm so glad that I did it. I feel like it got rid of like a lot of like discomfort that was like passive in my life. Hi Nabil, thank you so much for joining. Let me shout you out. You always need a shout out. Everyone here, you probably already know Nabil225, but please go follow. We do a show every single Saturday where we talk about life and science and just everything that deserves to be talked about. Yeah, Nabil, right now I'm talking about family estrangement, which I've actually done on stream before, but I just really like talking about this topic and something that I think goes not talked about often. Give me 1 second, I'm gonna have a drink. Okay, so I've recently realized that some people don't like human experience language, so consider this sheet completely optional if you hate human experience language, because some people don't. It's been about a year since I stopped talking with my parents. I noticed my ability to empathize with others is greatly diminished. Yeah, I mean, well, so, I mean, when your life just gets, like, all fucked up and, like, thrown about, like, it is so hard to empathize with other people, I mean, I really experienced empathy fatigue at the end of my time doing social work, and I still don't think that I'm like entirely recovered, honestly. But I try my hardest. Joey, so good to see you as always. Yeah, so human experience language, not everybody likes it, but I like it. Basically, the idea is that it's a unique collection of words that express the way someone lives and views the world that's non-diagnostic. So, like, instead of calling someone a schizophrenic, you would say that they're a person who has schizophrenia. And it's basically recognizing that they're a human being at the foundation of their experience rather than something else. Rather than saying that you're homeless, like, I mean, I considered myself homeless when I was, but you might say you don't have a home. But it doesn't matter to parse as much in that situation, probably, because it's just fucking so bad that you just need to remedy it anyways. But anyways, in practice, it can be thought of as the words people use to describe their own experiences, which for gender is obviously just like so very crucial. And this is just helpful for the reason this is so helpful for estrangement is that like when someone's like experiencing estrangement, like they're gonna view it in a very particular way, and if you insert words into their experience, they're gonna fucking notice. Like, so you really have to like listen to the words that people are using when they talk about their experience, because it matters. And they'll notice if you're not listening. Your relationship with your dad is fucked, honestly. At this point, you put up with him because of your mom. If she passes first, it's over. You'll never see him again. Yo, Nabil, like, what you've told me about it is, like, really hard. And honestly, like, I'll probably never be close with my dad, assuming that our relationship continues in the way that it does, because, like, I'm not gonna even talk about, like, some specifics that have happened, because it's just not even, like, right. Like, I'm not here to drag people through the mud or anything. But, like, I also like have a really tenuous relationship, but you know, I feel like at peace with it, and I think that's the most important thing. I don't know how at peace you feel with that, but I think it's good that you have like the soundness of mind to just have that decision ready made to never see them, if it makes sense. Okay, ostracism, and then we have the main screen. So ostracism is like rejection, of course, and when they studied ostracism clinically, they realized that there actually is a low level of pain experienced alongside significant experiences of ostracism, and obviously estrangement just is being ostracized or feeling like you have to reject someone and like feeling ostracized because like you had to push someone away. I mean, either way, it's like it's not good. And so basically the main thing about ostracism is that it happens in 3 stages. The first stage is the reflexive response, and what that is that you get like rejected, like somebody tells you something that's shitty, or like you get bad news, or your parents say something really hurtful or something, I don't know. But it's just the immediate feeling that happens when you feel like someone sort of insults you. And then later you'll have a reflective response, and that's like an hour later you're thinking about it, and it's like you might say to yourself, oh, it's not a big deal, it's whatever, nobody even cares what they think, or maybe I misconstrued it. Or you might be like, oh my god, that was even worse than I thought. And that's the reflective response. You reflect on it and like you think deeper into it, and then internalization happens. And so you have this experience of rejection, and you think about it, and then based on the combination of those 2 experiences, you actually internalize this, and the more that it happens, the more you can perceive ostracism is happening. And it's that very perception of ostracism that actually causes this physical reaction in people. And the physical responses of stress have been studied in people far and wide at this point, and it can lead to significant physical ailments. And so this is like very serious. And in my research doing this, a huge number of people experience ostracism. I mean, personally, I think literally everyone does in their life at some point. But like in the studies that they were showing, it was like 1 in 3 people have actually been ostracized from like someone in their family, like their immediate family. That was in the UK, at least. Okay, so here's the next one, and this is the most important slide. It's actually supposed to be animated and everything come up like one at a time, but that's okay. This is probably the most important slide in the whole presentation that I have about estrangement, because this is like my graphical breakdown of what the whole experience is. And basically there's 2 axes that your relationship could possibly like be estranged with. And either it can be an involuntary estrangement or a voluntary estrangement. You had an edible today, and that shit's wild. You're on another plane. You took it 4 hours ago, and it's still flying. Nice. I hope that it's a comfortable flying. It sounds good. I'm smoking this indica that I absolutely hate. I like actually normally love all weed specifically. Like I like there's never been a weed that I dislike, but this weed just straight puts me to sleep. Tomorrow I'm gonna go specifically scout out a sativa in my town because I need a sativa. I'm gonna stream at least Monday and Wednesday this week, or I'm sorry, I'm gonna stream at least Wednesday and Friday this week in addition to tonight. But next week I'm actually gonna be starting a consistent stream schedule of Tuesday and Thursday evenings, and then every single week we're gonna do Saturdays. So the stream schedule is gonna be pretty good, and I'm pretty excited to stream with the sativa in me later this week. Okay, but we're talking about estrangement and how it looks, and basically there's two axes that it can be on, and the first axis is whether the estrangement is voluntary or involuntary. So did you choose it or not? You know, like, were you the one who was estranged, or did you decide to become estranged from the other person? That's the first way that you have to evaluate your estrangement. Then the second filter is whether it was a mutual or a non-mutual decision. And there's a lot of different experiences of all of these different things. So I'll just run through them really quickly. If you involuntarily are estranged from someone and it's not mutual, then an example of that would be you are broken up with and you did not want to be broken up with. And so your partner breaks up with you, and you you are very sad about that because you loved them and now you're apart. That's a pretty classic story. And you'll see that all of these are very common. We've all experienced all four of these forms of estrangement. So these things fucking plague our life, and like nobody talks about them. But I think that the first thing you can do to healing them is to be able to describe them. That's what I like sort of like laid out earlier in this like presentation is why is it so hard to talk about? Well, if you can talk about it, then you can at least start to process everything. And this is like the language, right? Because this is every relationship. It's either going to be an involuntary estrangement or a voluntary. It's either going to be mutual or non-mutual. So breaking up, if you get broken up with, it's involuntary and it's non-mutual. Now, if it's involuntary but it's mutual, it means that someone else prompted it, but that you're comfortable with it. And so this could be the end of a contract. That's like a weird example. I've never actually like used that example before, but like that would be an example of it. But let me think about a better example of that. So an involuntary estrangement might be, but that's mutual, might be a time when someone else asks you to break up with them. But you both decide it's for the best, I guess. I don't know. That's the lazy answer, but I don't have to have good ones all the time. So we'll just move on. You could probably think of one yourself if you're picking up what I'm putting down. But let's talk about what a voluntary estrangement looks like when it's non-mutual. So what that would be is that you have decided to cut ties with your parents, but your parents don't want you to stop talking to them. And that was actually my experience. That was my experience. Well, it wasn't my experience because, well, it was and it wasn't. And we're going to talk about that in a second, because actually this is a very interesting dynamic of estrangement, is that my parents kept talking to me even though they had kicked me out. So I was estranged physically, but like emotionally, my parents wanted to stay close to me. And I was like, no, you have closed the door on our relationship. And I told them, like, I don't want to talk to you. And I didn't talk to them for 11 years. What if you break up with someone, but you didn't want to? Well, that would be I mean, that could be voluntary or involuntary, of course. And that's the thing, actually, is that this isn't a binary. This is actually a spectrum, and it can totally exist somewhere in between here, where like you chose to do it because you recognize that it was the right thing to do in the moment, but that like you still like wish that you didn't. So I mean, this is not meant to be thought of as a hard and fast like left and right. This is just like a sort of duality that exists in the relationship, you know. So it could be in the middle, but then it could be like in the middle, and then it could be in the middle here, and it could be like slightly non-mutual, or it could be slightly mutual based on like whether the other person wants to or not. And it can also be hard to think of like what a voluntary estrangement would look like that's mutual between the participants. But this one, I always give the example of children leaving their parents to go to college, you know, like you're separating in a certain way, but yeah, right. At least I think so. So you'd be separating from your parents, but like your parents want you to go to college and are happy for you, but like it is a separation that happens. And the thing is that with all these different possible estrangements, there's been grief in all of them. And that's the thing about it, is that like no matter what the reason is, there's always a little bit of pain there. So that's just the realization there. And so I think this is really the heart of the presentation. But I charted it out like on some graphs here a little bit. It's like kind of silly to like make this graphic, but at the same time, the thing is, and we talked about it a little bit on this slide, is that like there's a difference between emotional and physical distance. So like with my parents, they'd kicked me out of my house, but they wanted to keep talking to me, and in that way our emotional relationship like was technically cut later than our physical relationship. And so I just gave there's also the big one, death. Yeah, so I actually am going to talk about death in a little bit here. That's actually in just a couple slides I was going to mention death, because it is a separation. You're very right. I was actually going to bring that up because it's a specific instance of it. But yeah, so the emotional and physical distance, these are just some ways that like you can think about like examples where the physical distance can be related or unrelated to the emotional distance in a relationship. So this is the same example of the voluntary mutual relationship estrangement that I just described, where a student is leaving their parents to go to college. So here, September 1st, the student is living with their family and they're close with their family. They go off to college, and by October, they aren't talking to their families, so their relationship is deteriorating. And then in November, they like visit home. uh they visit home on Thanksgiving, and they have a conversation, and they promise to talk on the phone, and they go back to college, but their emotional relationship is a little bit closer even though they're physically estranged. So this is just one way to think about like a relationship. Like this is obviously cartoonish in nature, like no relationship is this simple, but this is how it is for all relationships, is that there's an emotional and physical distance, and those things can ebb and flow in different ways. And I just did a couple examples. So this is the deployment of a soldier. I don't know why I used a soldier as an example, but like I did. So like someone leaves and they're like on the other side of the world, and maybe the emotional health of their relationship deteriorates, and then they get back home and their relationship is still struggling because of like trauma or whatever it might be. All of your separations have been initiated by you. People in your life would stick around and be toxic forever if you let them. I've certainly had a lot. I've had every different experience. I've been rejected by people. I have rejected people. I have made mutual decisions to separate from people. So I've had the whole gamut for sure. And then this is an ambiguous loss, and this is when there's like an end to a relationship without any explanation even. So this is one where someone like goes to prison, and then someone just stops talking to them when they're in prison. I don't know why it dips up at the end, but maybe they're just released from jail. These are just like some small examples. Those aren't super important. I'm going to skip some of these slides because they're not super important. These are some common assumptions. I don't know why this like got formatted like this, but these are just some myths about the experience of estrangement. Chosen family can't replace blood relatives. Well, obviously friends are actually very valuable. And as a queer person who is homeless, chosen family is actually very important to me. I value my friends more than anything. People say that you might deserve to be alone. I don't know why this slide formatted this way. It's so weird. But obviously nobody deserves to be alone except for maybe chuds. Separation is always bad. Of course, that's not true. Temporary separation cannot affect us as significantly as a permanent loss. Yeah, I don't think that's like the sort of oppression Olympic type of thing. Parents or authorities are always right or justified. These are just myths, of course. We shouldn't be sad around the people that we care about, and reconciliation is necessary for wellness. I think this last one's actually one of the most important ones, that reconciliation is necessary for wellness. I think that we all in this chat probably know that reconciliation is not necessary for wellness. You do not need to reconcile with someone to feel better about the world. And the whole point of thinking about these things is to manage our social circle in a way that brings us the most fulfillment in our lives, because we should have full autonomy about the people we spend our time with. So with regard to young adults who are experiencing estrangement, one of the most important things to realize is that having even one adult role model is a huge value to kids, and that's something that has been reported across the board in most major studies of youth estrangement. So even having just one person talk to them is pretty amazing. And kids don't have a lot of power, so it's important to make sure that you help to encourage their own choice and self-determination, to remember the intersectionality of their situation, and to be a bridge to the community and not the community itself. Okay, older adults. This is where we're going to talk about loss actually a little bit. So Nabil, this is what you were just bringing up. Everybody experiences estrangement in their life, like whether it might be a different form, but everybody experiences it at some point. And as you get older, it happens more and more. You'll lose more people in your life, especially with loss, with death. And that is a huge piece of estrangement that we all face. We all lose people. And there's not even like a really clear answer of like what the best thing to do is. I don't think anybody has the answer for death, but I've definitely lost several friends, specifically to suicide, which has been a very hard thing for me to deal with. But I actually feel like with time, the pain has ebbed a lot. And I really just think about the good times with my friends now at this point. But it was some of the worst pain that I ever felt when I lost my friends. Because just like knowing that you'll never see someone again is a huge loss. But hopefully through the magic of streaming and soon to be virtual reality, we'll be able to make more friends more easily in the future. Okay, children leave to live lives. That happens to older people for sure. And that's its own type of estrangement. Parents whose children leave face oppression and misunderstanding. So that's like something I threw in there more for social work, where we were supporting people who like they had made mistakes and their parents had their children had left them. Actually, a lot of the people who I supported in like the social work that I did around the city, they might have had children who kind of legitimately didn't like them anymore. But you know, just in the role that I was doing, I was there to be supportive of those parents, even if they had made mistakes, because that was just like, you know, what I was there for. Because everybody deserves like a chance with someone new, you know? You lost one to gun violence, and that's why you're anti-gun. I'm anti-gun for a lot of reasons, Nabil. I'm very sorry to hear about your loss. It's so fucking like unfair to lose people at a young age. And like my friend too that I'm like particularly thinking about was just like one of the brightest minds and just so aware of the world's injustice, and of course that's why they're not with us anymore. And it's like of all the people we lose like one of the best people I've met. It's so bad. A very large portion of the people we support struggle with an extreme amount of loss. Yeah, so obviously people who are from marginalized groups are gonna experience loss more than others, so be aware of intersectionality. These are some hard conversations around estrangement, loss, value conflicts, like whether you're talking to a Chud family member. That's a really common one, is whether you should even talk to a Chud family member or not. I really don't know. I mean, my parents are borderline chuds, so I truly don't know. It was 14 years ago, but I still remember him once in a while. He taught you how to shoplift food from grocery stores when you're hungry. A very valuable skill. I need to shoplift food from our pantry soon because I'm getting hungry. I'm going to be taking a break in about 5 or 10 minutes here, so that I can go pee and get a quick little snack. Obviously domestic violence is a situation that can be really difficult, And so normally this section I'd be like talking with the other social workers just like about these sort of things and like running through like those situations that might be relevant to them. So we don't need to stick on all this stuff, but these are just some things, these are just reasons that people might be estranged, or that might be hard regarding their estrangement. And like people definitely have regret over losing relationships. People might have worries about developing a new social circle. Dating obviously is very hard, and sharing successes can even be difficult. Oh yeah, and on reconciliation. Now, I mean, reconciliation is kind of the crux of estrangement because it's sort of the flip side of it. I think that reconciliation is a really interesting topic, actually, because you hear very little about reconciliation in our culture. Our culture is one that does not like to reconcile. We definitely worship war and antagonism, and we definitely don't reconcile easily. But assuming it's the choice for you, reconciliation is a huge undertaking that could be really emotional and really difficult. And this slide is just some examples of some things to think about if you're considering reconciling with someone or you're talking to someone who's trying to make this decision for themselves. And so some notes about this is that nobody has the answer. Like, if someone that you know is debating talking to someone again and you don't think that it's the right choice for them, you should still support them in their decision making. That's something that's really important. We don't have the best answer for people, and you know, like, people know themselves best and deserve to make their own opinion. If you think they should be talking to someone and they don't think they should, it's obviously their decision. And so, you know, like, we just want to support people in the safest way that they can reconcile if they decide to. Do they want to reconcile in person or not? You could totally do it over text or the phone. Do you want to do it in a public or private space? When I reconciled with my parents, I did it at home, but I also had a friend who was nearby and ready to take me home if I needed to leave. What reactions can they expect? That one's a pretty obvious question to ask about this. You really crave reconciliation, but these days it's always when something is done, it's done, door closed forever. Well, that's kind of how it is for me with a lot of things as well too. And like, even though I'm reconciled from my parents, like, it doesn't mean that there's like this magic button that fixes like the mistakes of the past. It's just like that, you know, moving forward, there's just this like sense of ease with the relationship because it's like, whatever, we're like sort of like past the past, even though it's still fucked up. Not because you want it that way, but it feels because that's the cultural norm. Yeah, totally. I do crave reconciliation with certain other people too in my life though too, so I definitely feel that. And the door being closed forever is a really hopeless feeling sometimes. I hope that you do get to find that reconciliation. But yeah, so what are they looking to get out of the conversation? Like, what is reconciliation anyways? Do you just want like someone to understand what you went through, or do you actually want to have a relationship with them? What is the purpose of reconciling? Are you going to talk this one time, or are you going to keep talking afterwards? Is there any other support that you can offer as a friend? Do you want someone there while you're actually doing it? I had a friend who was ready to drive me home if I needed to. You know, just like, what is it that anyone can do for you contextually? Do you forgive them? If that's applicable, is forgiveness involved? Or do you plan on forgiving them if they like fulfill certain conditions? Do you have any conditions about forgiveness? You're good with Mage, but on your end, you know that you never really care much to reconcile if people do you wrong. You guess you're on the defensive at the moment. You're not really ready to open yourself up. But yeah, no, at the beginning of this PowerPoint, I actually said that like I have been very picky. I prune my relationships. I only spend time where I want in my life. I do not spend, and people fucking know. People know in my life. I'll give people the cold shoulder. I will just stop talking to people if I feel like very, very hurt. And I mean, I'm very lucky because I'm very at peace alone. But I also tend to be a very like bridge burny type of person. But at the same time, I do try to like hear people out as much as I can. I think we're all like that a little bit, where we try to give people credence if we can, but you know, you can only do so much. Okay, think about the context and what you would ask yourself if you were in the situation, and that this is a part of a process of growth that will last forever. And that's definitely one of the takeaways I think from thinking about estrangement, is that like it'll ebb and flow, and like you might talk to someone and not talk to them over and over, like for your whole life. You might talk to them for a year and not talk to them for a year, back and forth forever, and that just might be how you relate to them. I actually feel like there's one of my exes that's like that, and we've dated off and on for like many years, but we haven't been together for about 5 years now, and I am very comfortable with that personally. But that's it. That's everything. You can ask questions if you want, but obviously you could ask questions all the way through. But that's it. That's my estrangement PowerPoint, and it's always a fun one to do. I had a good time, and I am going to go on a break here for at least 15 minutes, and I'm gonna just run to the bathroom. I might have a quick little snack, but when I get back, we'll watch some more like philosophy videos and talk about life. And I really appreciate all of you being here. It's been a really nice night so far, and I'll talk to all of you like really shortly. Let me just get this set up here. So we got Snaz. Oh, it's already pretty much good. So we're just gonna start this, and then we'll minimize, go here, and we'll talk soon. Bye. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. I hope that you're all good. I'm back here. I am back. We're here. This jacket does look a little weird. Hold on. I'll be right back. I'm gonna fix this. I'm gonna just get out of the jacket outfit here. I was wearing it because it's warmer, but it doesn't look right. It doesn't look exactly right. So we'll put that down. I also realized I didn't have my hair thing in. I still have 3 minutes, right? Technically. Here we go. That was Enrique Granados that you were just listening to. Those were the Vals Poeticos, which are an extremely beautiful piece of music. I hope that all of you beautiful people are doing wonderfully tonight. I might leave again for a break in like kind of an inordinately short period, because I'm like very hungry. I'm like hungry enough to have a meal, but like 15 minutes wasn't enough to cook anything. And like I ate like a sandwich. I had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and I was just like, oh my god, I need to eat like 5 of these at least to fill my stomach right now. I've had a very busy day today. I pretty much spent like at least 5 hours cooking this gigantic meal to share between myself and my landlady. Oh no, and I'm realizing I don't know what happened to my phone. I like having my phone here just in case anything comes up. I think it might be right in here though. But anyways, so yeah, I made some food for myself and my landlady, and I went through the proper rites and traditions to bless my food in accordance with Krishna worship. So I made this lentil soup, which is one of my favorite recipes, kind of my go-to, as it's very healthy, it's extremely delicious, it doesn't get old. And it's just the right time of year for it, if we're being honest. So it came out wonderfully. That was a big part of my day. I also made sure to just like clean my room. I had to deal with some paperwork stuff with my new job in preparation for that. And then I also had to get ready for this stream, which is my dear favorite thing to do. So what is gender blending? Well, we're finding that out right now, aren't we? Gender blending is a multimedia experience that takes the traditional mediums of transness and curly hair and projects it in glorious 1080p through the internet, through Twitch, to see my hair and my PowerPoints that I make. We were listening to some Emmanuel, we listened to some Ram Dass, we listened to some Terrance McKenna, so we've had some pretty good things that we're listening to tonight. And we're gonna, yo, Cryptid Mage and Joey the Bastard, both of you. Let me give Cryptid a shout out here. Of course. Scripted page. The best name. So good. One thing I was doing was listening to Terrance McKenna and also listening to lo-fi music. Earlier, and that's something that I'd like to explore on this channel a little bit more. But we have some other things that we're going to actually check out. I was actually interested in watching a video that was on neural networks, but I was thinking that before we watch the video on neural networks, that maybe we should watch a sort of introductory video on neural networks that is a little bit simpler first, to like sort of give people an introduction to it. But I just want to see what else I have here. Yeah, okay, so this is what I have. Yeah, so we might do a quick computer file video on neural networks and then watch the video that I have in mind, because it's actually on practically setting up neural networks. Yo, Jellyfish, what's up? How are you doing? It's so good to see you. I was going to watch a video on neural networks here. It's so good to see you. They're pretty amazing, and Computer File is like a very, very good series. There's a video on neural networks in particular that I have in mind, and I'm just scrolling down to it right now. I probably should have done this on the break, but I might not be able to find it either. Hold on, if I can search this person's name, I should be able to find it. Let's see, Mike Pound, Deep Learning. This is a pretty good one. Thanks for giving Joey Bastard the shout out. You're cranky and you're sore, so you're here for the good vibes and soothing voice. Ah, well, this is a good night to be here. So we're going to talk about deep learning just slightly. And I was gonna look at a video that talks about the actual basis of it, but before we look at it, I thought we'd watch this like general introduction. Jellyfish as well, thank you for all the shout outs. I really appreciate you giving the shout outs, Scripted. Everyone deserves them. Okay, I'm gonna turn off the playlist. I'm gonna turn up our desktop audio, go to the game screen. We're gonna check out this video.
I wanted to talk a little bit more about,
and just so that we can understand the idea of what a black box is for the main video that we're going to check out. I just wanted to see, I have a video that I want to watch on algorithms for black box deep learning. So this is just a foundation so that we all have like the same basis.
Deep learning and some of the kind of slightly more large and interesting architectures that have been coming along in the last couple of years, last few years. So just a very brief recap, right? We've got videos on this. I'm going to draw my network from the top down this time. So rather than there being a square input,
I'm only as sweet as all of you.
From the top, and so you can work all your animation magic and sort this all out for me. Brilliant. So I'm going to be talking about deep learning and convolutional neural networks. So a convolutional neural network is one where you have some input, like an image, you filter it using a convolution operation, and then you repeat that process a number of times to learn something interesting about that image, some interesting features, and then you make a classification decision based on it. That is usually what you do, right? So you might decide, well, this has got a cat in it, or this one's got a dog in it, or this one's got a cat and a dog in it. And that's very exciting. So from the top down, right, because otherwise my pen's going to run out of ink if I start trying to do too many boxes. You've got an input image that's quite large, usually. So here's an input image, and I'm going to draw it like this. This is from the top. So if this is my image, I'm going to go to the top and look at it straight down, which
this video actually is not the video I thought it was. I'm not sure if I'll be able to find it, and this might be more fun if I actually talk about it anyway, since I'm the streamer. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna load up a new GIMP file here, and I'll just talk about deep learning, just to give you the idea of what I think you're gonna need to know to understand the video that we're gonna watch. So I'm gonna go to OBS and change my screen that we're actually looking at here to be the third screen here, and of course I'm having this same thing as usual. There we go. Okay, so now we're gonna go to GIMP here, and actually I'm gonna move OBS off of this screen right here. Okay, great. So we can see GIMP perfectly. GIMP is pretty awesome. Anyways, yeah, so neural networks, like I'm not an expert, obviously. I mean, the video that we're going to be watching is like an introductory video to the foundations of an actual neural network, but I do know the basics of it. And the general idea of these like deep learning algorithms is that you have like sets of information, and they draw it like these matrices with these like dots here. And so like the example video that I actually did, like it talked about like appraising houses. I'll swear from the shower earlier. Oh, what are we doing in the shower? Oh my god. So you might have the size, you might have the color, you might have the style, you might have the room number, you might have like I don't know, what's one other thing is I don't know, let's just say materials. We'll just say the materials used. And so basically the deep learning network, it has all of these things that are contained inside a black box, and there could be as many rows of these as is necessary based on like what you're running, essentially. But then essentially that stuff gets to like an end result that comes out of the black box. And so basically what machine learning is doing is that like it basically is comparing all these factors across certain domains, and we don't even completely understand like what is actually being looked at by the AI, because the AI decides based on like essentially simulations. And so it could be something like this, could look something like that, and then it takes that information and it parses it out so that it's looking at these. And this is like a super like sort of random example that I'm sort of weaving together here, but then these all like sort of come together to be like basically what comes out of the neural network. And so that's why you only play mouse for you. You all are so cute. Okay, so this is the black box, and so we know the inputs that are going in, but then we don't know like what's going on inside here. The AI is the one that's actually deciding that, but then it comes out with the output. And that's basically the only thing that I was gonna say about deep learning, is that we don't even like know what's being evaluated in the center part. So that's like the foundation for what we're gonna look at. But I'm really interested in learning more about deep learning, and so that's what we're gonna check out today. I just need to do this, and that's gonna be the next video we see here. I'm gonna move OBS off my screen to here, close this, and check this out.
An image.
We'll go back to
get
this.
to the equations when I can really build from the ground up. And
oh, I'm so glad that you love it here. Brain things, and naughty things. It's so good. The audio is not coming in, huh? Let's see if we can fix that. I think I know what happened. Yep. You know, sometimes freaking, do you see what's happening to my OBS? Like, why does it make this so wide? It's so weird. Okay, let's see if my desktop audio is actually coming through OBS or not now. Hold on. We're having some audio issues here. Let's see. Yeah, that's not coming through. It's coming through my headphones, but then OBS isn't picking up on my actual audio here. So I'm gonna turn it off and on again, which is something that sometimes helps in situations. So now we're gonna use, I guess this is USB, so let's try that. Sorry for the issues, everyone. We'll get to it soon. Let's see if that worked. Hey, we have sound. Okay, cool. So we're gonna talk about neural networks because I am interested in neural networks. I'm interested in seeing how these things work. So this is gonna be the actual like the mathematical foundations. I'm not sure if I'm gonna understand like any of this, but like I just think it's interesting, and so we'll check it out together.
Really build from the ground up, and you really can't get too much closer than implementing a neural network from scratch. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So let's dive right into it. The problem that we'll be tackling is digit classification. We'll be using a famous dataset called the MNIST dataset. So what the MNIST dataset is it's tens of thousands of these 28 by 28, so pretty low res grayscale images of handwritten digits. We are going to be building a neural network that classifies images of handwritten digits and tells you what digit is written in that image. This is an overview of what everything is going to look like, what we're going to implement today.
There's the neural network. That's what I was just trying. There's that thing, and then here's all the math that actually makes the little drawing work. I don't know the math. Beautiful.
Of what everything is going to look like, what we're going to implement today. And we're going to start off with 28 by 28 pixel training images. So that's 784 pixels overall. And each of those pixels is just a pixel value, right? It's between 0 and 255. 255 being completely white, 0 being completely black. So we have M of these training images. So we can represent it as a matrix that looks like this. Each row constitutes an example, and each row is going to be 784 columns long, because each of them is going to correspond to one pixel in that image. What we're actually going to do is transpose this matrix. Instead of each row being an example, each column is an example. So our first column is going to be our first example, and it's going to have 784 rows corresponding to each pixel, and we're going to have M columns corresponding to our M training examples. Our goal is to take this image, just do a bunch of processing, and then give out a prediction for what digit that image represents. And how we're going to do that is with a neural network. So we're going to be building a quite simple neural network. It's only going to have 2 layers. So the first layer in this neural network is just going to be 784 nodes. This is our input layer, right?
That so cool?
Each of the 784 pixels maps to a node, and that's our first layer. Our second layer is going to be our hidden layer, and it's going to have 10 units. And then our third layer is going to be our output layer, again with 10 units, and each corresponding to one digit that can be predicted. In that intro right there, I called this the first layer, this the second layer, and this
it starts with the 0th layer, I guess.
Going forward, I'm actually be calling this right here the 0th layer. This the first layer.
Hey,
and this
I'm so
the
smart.
Second layer. And the reason for that is this layer
Index
right here
0
will also be called the input layer. There's no parameters here, right? This is not really a layer of the network. It's just the input. This right here is the first hidden layer. And this is our second layer, and also
and why are they hidden? Because it's in the black box.
So I just called them first, second, and third. But going forward, we're going to be not using first, second, and third, but rather input layer, first hidden layer, and second layer, otherwise known as output layer. There's 3 parts to training this network. The first part is called forward propagation. So forward propagation is just when you take an image and you run it through this network. From this network, you compute what your output is going to be. So that's the first part that we have to figure out. So to start, we're going to have this variable A0. That's just our input layer. That's just equal to X. There's no processing going on here. A0 is just this first layer right here. Z1 is the unactivated first layer. What we're going to do to get Z1 is apply a weight and a bias. So a weight is going to be this matrix. We're going to take the dot product between that matrix and an A0, our input layer matrix. And that's going to give us something, and then we're going to add just a bias term to it. What we're doing here is really multiplying by a bunch of weights that correspond to each of these connections, each of these, 7,840 connections. And then we're going to add a constant bias term to each of the nodes. What we're going to do after that is kind of interesting. We're going to apply an activation function to it. So if we didn't apply an activation function, what would happen is that each node would just be a linear combination of the nodes before it, right? Plus a bias term. The second layer is going to be a linear combination of the nodes in the first layer, but the first layer is just a linear combination of the nodes in the input layer. So what's really happened is that second layer is just a linear combination of the input layer, right? It's like you don't have a hidden layer at all. So if you only have linear combinations, if you only have your weights and your biases, you're never going to get a really interesting function out of a neural network. Really, you're just doing a really fancy linear regression. To solve that, we apply a activation function. There's a bunch of like common ones, so tanh and sigmoid. I'm sure you've heard of them. They kind of look like this.
Definitely heard of
your
those.
Nice curves, and that's going to make it more interesting. If you apply a tanh function or a sigmoid function to all of the nodes in a layer, it's no longer linear, right? When you move on to the second layer, that's adding now a layer of complexity.
I do not know what those functions are, but I think I'm generally following like on the pathway of like evaluating all of the different possibilities between the nodes, I guess. But I don't know what those functions are. Maybe there's a mathematician here.
And a layer of interesting nonlinear combination rather than just a linear model. And
that's okay. I didn't expect to understand the like specific mathematics in this, but I'm more so trying to develop a better understanding of the very foundations of a neural network. And overall, this is making sense to me because essentially like the 0th layer that they're talking about, the A0, that's like the starting condition. And so these are the attributes that you're evaluating. And then Z of 1 are essentially predictions based on all of the possible combinations of everything. And then you kind of keep going, and this person only, hey Paige, could you check your Twitch DMs? I'll check my Twitch DMs. I'll do it off screen though. Just to be safe. Not that I think that there's anything bad, but just because like there might be other like information on my screen. Let's see, check my DMs.
We got life to live.
Thanks for letting me know that. That's sick.
That's it.
Someone's gonna hop in here. I have to do something really quick here. I have to go follow someone. Azure Mako. We're followed. Someone's gonna jump in here while we're looking at neural networks. I might actually load up a different Terrance Mckenna video really quickly. Let's switch some of my webcam here. I assume that this person is going to join soon.
No. I've almost rated Asmon Gold. Jesus fucking Christ.
Just say hearts.
Sorry.
Amazing. Okay, I'm gonna close out of that for now, just to make sure everything makes sense. I think since I can expect some more people to be here soon, we might switch over to some more Terrance Mckenna, because it's always like very good to just like listen to Terrance. So I think that's what we're gonna switch to, because it's gonna be a little bit more approachable than listening to the neural networks. But we'll wait till some more people get here, because apparently we're gonna have some people joining us soon. Thank you, Grumpy Coffee, for that heads up, because that'd be pretty amazing to just have some people jump in here. And I'm actually gonna be like doing some like lo-fi while we do the Terrance Mckenna. But thank you so much for being here, everyone who is here right now. It's very greatly appreciated, and we've had a pretty good night so far. We started out by watching Ram Dass and Terrance Mckenna talk for a little bit, and they had their conversation. Oh my god, thank you so much, Azure Mako. Thank you so very much for rating me. As soon as Grumpy told me that you were planning on coming in, I was just like, oh my god, that's so nice. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna have to stop by your stream sometime. I hope it was a really good stream. Hello everyone from Azure. I really appreciate you being here. My name's Paige, and this is Gender Blending. This is the show where I talk about philosophy, and I talk about music and transness and whatever we want to talk about. Yes, thank you for shouting out Azure Mako. Let me throw out another shout out here to Azure Mako. Thank you. Snick and Unions Lee Mom again. Hello to you too. Yes. Azure Mako. Thank you all. So we're going to be listening to Terrance McKenna a little bit more, and I'll just like sort of expand on it. My thing didn't work. Did I spell Azure Mako wrong? Does it have to be capitalized correctly? I'm not sure. Let's try one more time and see if it actually works. S-O Azure Mako. I'll try one more time. If it doesn't work, we already got one. Oh, there we go. I haven't played World of Warcraft in a minute. I actually did play Vanilla WoW way back in the day, but I haven't played World of Warcraft in a minute. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Terrance McKenna was a psychedelic advocate and someone who talked a lot about bringing shamanism back into the fold, into the mainstream, and what he called the archaic revival. And that's something I'm particularly interested in. I am spending a lot of my time talking about our coming technological emergence, and the archaic revival is to take these technologies and sort of return to a sort of more communal situation. So let's hear what Terrance has to say about it. This is the talk Psychedelic Dreams, and dreams are a topic that I love quite a bit. I'm thinking about playing some lo-fi in the background while we listen to some Terrance too, so just because I think that those vibes are pretty amazing. So thanks so much if you're here. I really appreciate you. Thanks again, Azure Mako, for the raid, and let's get into listening to some Terrance McKenna. I'm gonna pull this onto my other screen here. Go here.
For a moment, in order to fulfill the promise read in the introduction, about psychedelics and what are they doing in this fine situation? Well, what they're doing is forcing this maturation process by dissolving boundaries, which is what they do.
For those of you who this might be your first time here, we are interested in the psychedelicists on this channel, and if you do have weed, I do recommend smoking it up as we listen to Terrance here. It is very suitable.
They are exposing the cultural operating system for what it is, which is just a bunch of hacked together rules that evolved over time. They weren't sent from God, from Mount Sinai. It's just a bunch of hacked together rules. So psychedelics in that sense spread alienation. But what they alienate us from is preposterous, earth-murdering, sexist, consumerist, shallow, trivial, inane, insane, and
earth-murdering and sexist. Thank you, Terrance, for telling it like it is, ahead of the time. Terrance was talking about these things in about the 70s. What forward thinker.
Dangerous. And that's what they alienate us from.
I like this, like, I mean, I can't be the only one who thinks that this snake is very penis-like here. And it's like, it seems to be sucking up or shooting out a person who's gardening. It kind of looks like. Sort of weird.
So again, this neotenizing thing is like
oh my god, I was just telling my landlady that I love the word neoteny so much. For those of you who aren't familiar with the word neoteny, neoteny is the retainment of juvenile characteristics into adulthood. Neoteny, the retaining of juvenile characteristics into adulthood. And in fact, that's what's happened with dogs as we have evolved them, is that they retain their juvenile features. And then you have people like myself who are neotenous individuals, and we retain our youth into old age. I'm actually 9,000 years old. And it is phallic, Jeremy. Jeremy, bury me. Jeremy, bury me. Bury me, bury me. Is that like a subtle reference to The Good Place, Jeremy? Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. We are listening to Terrance McKenna. And Yeah, I'm glad that I'm not the only one who's seeing phallic imagery here. I am gonna have to tell the thought police. You're 5. You're 5. Same. I'm simultaneously like 12 and also like 30 and also 70 and also 4,000 and 69. That is exactly what it is. Kudos. Good job, me. I can point out phalalysis in pictures. Literally 1984.
Condition of unconsciousness that I described as the precondition for the cosmic giggle. Glamour, acts of magical conjuration, hypnotic delusion and illusion, hysterias, fads, pseudo-revelations, strange truths whispered in every quarter. This is the character of our time. And
actually, another character of our time that I should stress is that Grimpy Coffee, recently you were trying to use the evil snack command, and I do have actually several different like exclamation point commands that you can use to generate sounds on my channel, and a lot of them are really good. I recommend you try from one time to another. You don't have to right now, but there are some pretty solid commands on my channel here, and those weren't working for a minute. It turned out
somewhere around the peak of Mount Titan, I believe, but no one's seen it before, and no one's ever found it. It's also guarded by an evil snake. Be careful.
No one's seen it before or heard of it, but it's guarded by an evil snake. Be careful. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, so all of those files got moved on my computer, and then OBS didn't know what to do with itself. Lick snack. I think that one of my favorites, what's one of my favorites? I mean, obviously there's this one. The body. That one's pretty good. Oh, there might be a cooldown on that if it didn't work. Top tier dialogue. Thank you. Yeah, so there's the body, and then this one's pretty good. Nobody's really used this one while I'm online, but my friends and I, we used to joke about this one right here. Oh, is that one not? Is it called Stay Away? I don't know. What did I call it? Yeah,
Stay away from the summoner!
Stay away from the summoner! Who knows what game that's from? I mean, I could have told. I told you it's a game. I don't know if you know. Is that like a meme? Do people know that, or do just me and my friends joke about that? I don't know. I'll tell you in a minute if nobody guesses. Okay, so let's keep ear. Try there's a lot of good ones, Jilly. There's a list on my actual like about page. There's quite a few good ones. I'll stop playing with them now though, and I'll just listen to Terrance again for a minute.
People have seemed to believe that they were fulfilling their responsibilities intellectually. People seem to feel they are doing that when they reject the past. Say, well, you know, that was all screwed up, but since I got with Master Shuggy, I've understood.
Yeah, I figured you were already asleep, Nabil. I'm surprised you're still here, honestly, but I really appreciate you being here. I'm glad you are. I mean, I'm drifting in and out of consciousness all the time. Yeah, I suppose Nabil didn't go to bed, Jellyfish. But you know, that's why I'm here, is to cater to the people who aren't in bed yet, you know? I'm actually going to continue streaming at night. I'm definitely like a night streamer. I'll probably always stream at night for the rest of my life. You did, but you keep waking up. I hope that it's not because of like trauma or anything. It's probably just like me, and you just have to pee every 10 minutes like myself. Micro sleeping. Yeah, I'm kind of into the macro sleeping game. I just sleep for way too long, probably, but it's still not long enough. I actually don't sleep for that long because I'm just so fucking busy, but I could sleep forever, probably. There's actually this, like, sick anime that I always forget the name of. It's something like The Wind. Like, that's the title has the words like the wind. You need sound to sleep. I definitely don't need sound to sleep. I used to, like, need a fan or something in my room, but I don't really need that anymore. actually, now that I'm living on a farm, it's just like fucking so quiet. It's just amazing. I used to be like so afraid of nuclear proliferation. I was living in fright of like a nuclear blast going off, and I still kind of have like fear about that, which is like maybe crazy, but like it's a lot less bad now. I think before, living next to the train, I was just like fucking up my body by being like next to the trains constantly for many years. It just like fucking sets me off, you know? I don't know. Oh, it was a question. Do I need sound to sleep? Nope. Well, I guess that's the answer, right? Is I don't. I used to need sound to sleep, but no longer. No longer do I need it. In fact, if this indica that I'm smoking had any say about it, I would never be awake ever, because it just wants me to be asleep constantly.
You know, the way it really is supposed to be. No, this is just trading one set of neotenizing operating systems for another. The real hard choice that you're being pushed toward, and that you might consider making before the yawning grave rings down the curtain on this cosmic drama, is actually intellectual responsibility, freedom, and a devotion.
You used to watch Riverdale to sleep. I don't know if I've ever watched that show before. I'm unfamiliar. I think it's about a high school, probably. It sounds like it's about a high school.
To what scientists call elegance of thought. You know, people say, well, how can you tell one theory from another, and is science better than religion, and this and that? After a lot of arm waving, it should be conceded that the final call is aesthetic.
Archie comics, okay. Yeah, I got you. Can always go watch Bob Ross paint. It's so good. Happy Little Trees. I like when he hits the brush against the post. It's always like really nice. What does he say? Something about getting the demons out of it? Bob Ross Demons? Is that it? YouTube. Bob Ross. If I type in Bob Ross Demons, it'll probably work, right? Beat the devil out of it. I hope that this just has beat the devil out of it over and over. Please. I think it will.
Paint thinner. And I have a screen in the bottom of this can so we can scrub the bristles against the screen, and the solid material sort of settle to the bottom, keeping the paint thinner relatively clean.
It's pretty
awesome. Shake it off, and then just beat the devil out of it. That has to be the most fun part of the whole technique.
He's one of the reasons I try to
brush.
Do art and stuff too. I should paint.
I like to wash this brush. It's a lot of fun. There we go. Shake off the excess. And just beat the devil out of it.
Just beat the devil out of it.
All right. Now let me wash the brush. And
It
we'll
is
just
very
blend that
beautiful.
out.
What is that? A Prussian blue? Is that a
we wash our brushes with
cerulean?
odorless thinner, and we have a lot of fun. Just shake off the excess.
We are having a lot of fun.
And beat the devil out of it. All right.
I think we're gonna watch this whole video probably.
We wash our brushes.
Jellyfish, good recommendation.
I really
think that
suggest
this
that you
was
use
a
odorless
solid
thinner,
choice.
or you'll become very unpopular around the home front. There's a screen down here in the bottom of the bucket that I scrubbed the brush against, and we'll shake it off.
Beat the devil out.
And just beat the devil out. That really
Okay,
is
that's enough. That's honestly enough. That's fine. That's good. Okay, let's go back to this.
That because we are monkeys, because we are so far from God.
Prussian blue. You have to see in person to know colors. I feel like I can kind of just tell colors no matter what, but I could be wrong. I feel like colors change with things, like even my hair color. Well, obviously my hair color changes every day. You adore him because he helped your anxiety. Yeah, he definitely helps my anxiety too, for sure. But But a lot of things help my anxiety. Another thing that really helps my anxiety is Joseph Goldstein. Joseph Goldstein actually has this really good thing on friendship. Let me see if I can find it. Joseph Goldstein. And then let me just type in friendship and see if I can find this. There's this really good clip. I don't think it's this one in Love and Kindness, but let's click it and I'll see if it can bring me somewhere. I'll see if I can find the thing I'm looking for. Unless it is around here, just random.
To him.
It would be random.
Not merely do I prefer to do him good, rather.
Holy shit, this is actually it. This is the thing that I was looking for. I can't believe it. This, like, the chances that I could have clicked on the right video is, like, incredibly low. But listen to this clip from Joseph Goldstein on friendship. This is such a good take on, like, a healthy friendship. And I think he's actually quoting a poet, like Jacques Vallée or something. I don't know if that's the person. He introduces it, though. Let's see what he says.
Article about the French essayist Montaigne.
Oh, Montaigne. Jacques Vallée.
I mean, he was really a wonderful humanist.
Is Jacques Vallée even a person? Did I make up that name? No, that's a person, an internet pioneer. I don't know. Cool. Anyway, so this is by Montaigne, and this is a really, really good thought on friendship.
Had a great wisdom. And it described, Montaigne was describing a very deep friendship he had, a lifelong friend. And he was describing the quality of the relationship with this friend, a very dear person to him. And I read this, and it was the most striking expression of metta. So I just wanted to read just those few lines. So this is
Metta is loving kindness. It's a Buddhist concept. It's one of the highest forms of love in Buddhism.
This is Montaigne. In a truly loving relationship, which I have experienced, and he's talking about this guy who was a very dear friend, rather than drawing the one I love to me, I give myself to him. Not merely do I prefer to do him good, rather than have him do good to me. I would even prefer that he do good to himself than to me. It is when he does good to himself that he does the most good to me. If his absence is either pleasant or useful to him, then it delights me far more than his presence. And that's pretty extraordinary relationship, where it's all about the happiness of the other person.
Yeah, I think about that a lot, actually. The happiness of the other person, specifically, like, giving people space. And that's something that's changed so much in my life. I'm gonna go back to my main webcam here. Thank you all for joining me if you're here. My name's Paige, and I'm, something about me is that I'm trans, and I've dated a lot of people in my life. And, oh, thank you, Jellyfish. I try really hard. And, it's all the people who like to come and listen that make it all worthwhile because, just like Patrick and the egg in SpongeBob, without the light, the egg will have nothing to keep warm, and without the egg, the light will have nothing to warm. So I forget the name of the egg. Is it Robert or something? Without you all to listen, then I have nothing to say. But my favorite thing about streaming right now is that, first of all, I'm allowed to go fucking off the beaten track, right? This isn't like a normal conversation in life where I just it's like a dialogue or anything. I just get to ramble. And so I'll have points in my mind, and I have a point A and a point B, but then we get to make pit stops, and I get to take as long as I want from point to point, which is what I'm doing right now. And you wish you had a lot of dating experiences. You think it would soften the blow of loss? Would you say that that's true for you? Um, I do think that, yeah, a little bit. Um, but not dating experiences though. Not dating experiences. I would like to date again soon, but I've kind of purposefully not been dating. But when I said that I had lots of experiences, it was when I was much younger. And I've grown so much more. And that's kind of partially why I'm not in a relationship right now, is that I'm so content in myself that I am very picky about like how I spend my time with people. And what I always tell people is that when I was younger, I was really a relationship hopper. Honestly, I was always dating someone at least, and I was very, very rarely single. And I did have a couple long-term relationships, but in between them, I would have lots of flings. And what I realized was that I was very uncomfortable living alone. And I was actually looking for another human being to fulfill me. And eventually, I got married and we split up, and I realized that I couldn't have someone else fulfill me. I have to be a fulfilled person if ever I'm going to be in a meaningful relationship. And it's been like probably about 5 years since we split up, my ex and and I feel like I truly am a very completely realized individual person, and my life is so full. And so instead of being an unfulfilled person looking for another person to fulfill them, I'm just a fulfilled person, and I'm looking for other fulfilled people to spend my time with. And unfortunately, most fulfilled people are already so busy that they don't have time. So I don't have anyone I can date, but it's not like a sad thing. It's like just an opportunity in the future, you know? It's like a very good thing. Learning how to pick people who doesn't hurt you helps. But I do think it helps with loss to meet new people, certainly. And one of the losses of my closest friends was in 2020, and I can't believe it's been so long already. And I've met a lot of really wonderful people since then, and I do think it has helped to meet new people. This was actually like one of my closest friends who died, and I'll never like have anyone that replaces them, but it does definitely get easier. It definitely gets easier. I don't know if that's the type of loss that you're talking about. When it comes to social loss, I'm definitely I'm less in pain. I feel a lot less pain about like social losses because like I just have hope that if there is any animosity between myself and anyone, that maybe one day we can find peace, because the fact is that like I have found so much inner joy in my life, especially just like through my own spirituality, to be honest. But then being trans, like I've talked about this so much, is how like being trans is like sometimes it's just like the luckiest thing in the whole world, because it's like I think that people all have struggles in their life, but being trans is a struggle that has such an optimistic end result of self-realization and contentment. Not for everyone, because people are oppressed, of course, but ideally the trans experience should be one of empowerment and joy, and that's been my experience. You mean loss in dating, which you really struggle with. I struggle with rejection in dating a lot, and I struggle with two things in particular. Is I struggle when people doubt my good intention, which can happen, because I think that uh people will just doubt my intention, and I'm always well intentioned. No, people don't doubt my intention. I feel like they do. I get like in my own head about it. But then the other thing is, and this is the main thing, is that I worry that people see me wrong. It's like basically body dysmorphia, you know? It's like I worry that the things that people are attracted to me for are the things that like I least want even to be visible or noticed by the world. Um but Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm relatively at peace with most of my romantic relationships, if I'm being real. I'm fairly comfortable single, although I often do wish that there was someone that I could cuddle with at night, just to like cuddle, of course. But you know, I'm generally satisfied still. And like dating people's fucking work. It's a lot of work, and I'm so busy. I don't know if I have time for a relationship. But I made like a lot of vegan soup tonight, and it was so fucking good. Oh, by the way, everyone who's here, I'm also vegan. It's just another thing. The mistaken good intentions. Yeah, the mistaken good intentions is actually something I dealt the most with in social work. I would go meet with people who are homeless, and they had just been like cheated so much that like people would just doubt that I was actually there to be nice to them. Oh gosh, I'm at 3.5 hours streaming, and I really want to keep going here, but I'm getting like very parched. I've been speaking for a long time, and my thermos is empty, so I should refuel. And I'm gonna throw a snack in the oven really quickly so I have something to eat when I'm done streaming. But I'm gonna come back and do one more section. I'm just gonna step away for probably not too long, probably like 10 minutes. But when we get back, I will hydrate very shortly. I need to make better viewer rewards. But I will talk to all of you soon. I'm also gonna do just one more voice command here just because they're good. I think I'll leave Terrance McKenna up during the BRB. Probably.
Misfortune will infest your pathetic soul for all eternity.
Let's see. Let's go to BRB. We're gonna set it for 15 minutes. And then I'm gonna play some Terrance McKenna during the break.
We cannot set knowing the truth as the standard for choosing among the models we can produce. We must set our aesthetic compass towards the more true, what Wittgenstein called the true enough. And then the question is, well, how do you recognize that? Well, this is a rich field of human study called philosophy of science or theory, epistemology and ontology. How do we know what is real? But Plato, who all the rest of philosophy is a footnote upon, Plato said, that the key lay in the concepts the good, the true, and the beautiful. The good, what is it? Tricky, tricky, tricky. The true, what is it? Trickier, even trickier. The beautiful, what is it? Easy to discern. The beautiful is easy to discern. You are going to be condemned to live out the consequences of your taste. Really, really. And if you have no taste, God help you, because you are self-condemned to an appalling nightmare. You won't be getting it. All the subtle stuff will go by you while your head is filled with cant, nonsense, foolishness. So again, the metaphor of the dream and of making choices based on beauty, and beauty is downloaded into the human cultural milieu largely through dreams. Other ideas may also come in dreams, but I think studies have shown that architects, designers, people who are actually at the top of the pyramid in any design process are very aware of their dreams, their reveries, their insights. So that's the way to set the compass, not toward truth, not toward the good, not because these aren't fine things, but because they're so slippery. but toward beauty. And with that in place, to my mind, life, hope follows as a natural consequence. You know, we talk a lot, and I'm sure there are people in this room who are well versed and connected into the world of virtual reality, which is a very hot topic and may have all kinds of implications for our future and the evolution of consciousness. But it's worth pointing out that we have been making virtual realities for a very, very long time. That language, spoken language, is the original code for hacking virtual reality. And when you sit the children down around the fire and begin to tell the old stories and the pictures rise out of the flames, that is virtual reality. And so is, and this is the point I want to make, so are all the artifacts, all the impedimentia of human existence. I mean, a virtual reality built in aluminum, stucco, steel, and glass is not immediately erased the way you clear a screen, and the cost of making it is great. But was a virtual reality. The Agora at Athens, ancient Rome, Canterbury Cathedral, these are virtual realities. Men and women have toiled at agriculture, at warfare, at child rearing, at many, many activities in the long march towards self-definition. But more and more we have, and this is true even of societies that are aboriginal and without economy, when we free ourselves, we are not freed into a void. When we free ourselves, we are freed into the dimension in which art is an obligation. And this is the great turning point. I mean, I think that the design process, whatever that means, must become conscious, global, integrated. The entire human domain, which means the entire planet and its surrounding near space, should be enclosed and included in a coherent plan driven by human values and a thirst for transformational beauty. And I mention this because I believe that many of the people capable of making major contributions to that are in this room or within 100 miles of this room tonight. And we are people of immense privilege by any way of slicing the planetary demographic. Even the poorest among us who wheedled their way in here this evening are in the top 1% of the planetary social pyramid. On a planet where hundreds of millions of people are starving, the obligation upon the conscious people near the control surfaces, near the levers of the human machine is immense. So with freedom, and I know this is a cliche, but hopefully not in this context, with freedom of that sort comes enormous responsibility. And it's paradoxical. Responsibility to dream, and coexisting and simultaneous with that, an obligation to awaken. In other words, an obligation to make sense, be non-trivial, not to squander resources in foolishness, an obligation to awaken, and an obligation to, at the same time, dream. And then, the rational mind screams out, but this is impossible. This is paradox. But the subtle mind understands that we have now reached square one by openly confronting the necessity for paradox And by openly confronting the fact that we can only enclose our dilemma by speaking in at least two modes at once, we begin to actually honor the complexity of the situation. And so tonight, the thought I want to leave with you is the simultaneous project of awakening and the simultaneous project of entering deeper into the dream for the purpose of cultivating, evoking, experiencing, remembering, transmitting, and communicating beauty, which feeds back into the awakening process. Otherwise, the awakening will be traumatic and demoralizing. We will awaken to an AIDS-ravaged Earth, to ecotastrophe, planetary warming, complete collapse of any concern for the destiny of future generations. This awakening must not be disempowering. And the mantle that can be spread over the awakening to counteract the possibility of disempowerment is this wish to evoke, realize, and serve the project of bringing ever greater amounts of beauty into the world.
Hello.
We will have an intermission of
How you
about 20
doing?
minutes.
I hope you're doing pretty good. Let's turn on a different... Here we go. How's it going? That's Fernando Soar. Jellyfish went to bed. Too bad. But that's okay. I hope Jellyfish is having the sweetest dreams. And I hope all of you are having the sweetest daydreams. If you're here, I am very grateful. Thank you for checking out this content and trusting me with your mind waves as you let me lead your thought with my voice. Which I guess is what streaming is. I don't know. I listen to podcasts myself and stuff. Krypton Mage, thank you so fucking much. You are so real. You are so supportive, and I'm very thankful. I have very little time to actually like go online and listen to streams and stuff. I feel like I'm just like so busy fucking offline that I can't like show the same level of support, but like I'm so grateful to all of you. Oh, Joey, thank you. I was actually gonna talk a little bit about my life currently as it stands, because I realized on my break that I haven't really shared a lot about my... Yeah, thank you for that shout out. That's very, very deserved. And I haven't really talked a lot about like what my life is like here, because I actually just moved from being in the literal city to being far from the city. Don't worry about it. You'll see me when you have time. Well, I appreciate you being here, and like yeah, basically as soon as I do have time to like, well, we should do, I mean, I've actually been thinking a lot lately that like I need to like do more collaborations. So Cryptid, we should like certainly like figure out a time that we can do something. I'm gonna be streaming on Tuesdays and Thursdays after this week. So maybe we should choose a Tuesday or Thursday. I don't know if you ever do those days, but we should just like figure out a day where we can stream together. If you ever wanted, no pressure, but that goes for everybody here, just in general too. I mean, like, I'm kind of very open to collaboration. I don't always want to do every project ever, but like I'm very open to the idea. I'm a very schedule-oriented person. So it's very helpful for me to like pick days and times to do things, but I'm pretty, I try to be prompt when I actually schedule things. But yeah, let me talk about my life a little bit. Right now I am living in a farm, and it's really weird. I've never lived on a farm before. Well, it's not really weird, I guess it's just different, right? I've been a city gal for most of my life here. Been living in the city for probably over 10 years, so I'm gonna open up this huge box that I have. This is my paraphernalia box that is airtight that I got from my time in the military. And this is my paraphernalia that I am pulling out at the moment. My specifically weed paraphernalia is what I'm pulling out because I've done ground up. But yeah, so one of the things that we have to do here is that we have wood heat. So I actually have to go and like get chopped wood. We also have to chop wood, but we have a bunch of chopped wood right now. So I don't have to do it right now, obviously. But yeah, so we have a wood fire and like we have to keep feeding it. And like, you know, it goes pretty quick. Like if you want that fire to like go, you have to feed it probably every hour at least every hour. And at first I was like, wood burning seems like so archaic in a time of like such like we're doing like nuclear power and stuff and we're like burning fucking wood to stay warm. Like, are you serious? But then actually I started doing it and I'm like, holy shit, like this actually makes like a ton of sense. It makes like this wood is just like lying around dead anyways and it needs to be burned. Honestly, it needs to be cleared. And also like the alternative would be like electric heat or something, electric heat or like oil heat, and those things cause like the same emissions. So at first I was like, burning wood, like I hate the idea of killing trees, I hate the idea of the emissions that come from it, but actually it's like it's kind of all the same on this level. Like when you're just doing it to heat your home, like honestly it heats well. That was the next thing I was going to say. It's fucking crazy how well it heats. Now unfortunately this house, it isn't like massive, but it's very long and I live on one end and my landlady lives on the other end. I'm really cute, you have to say it. Oh my god, yo, thank you, I love hearing it. I have to say thank you. Oh, I love when people say that I'm cute. Obviously, I try really hard. Hope you have an awesome week. I know you will keep grinding and being closer to your goals. That's like such a supportive thing to say. I don't know how to say your name. Zhao Cortuno. I think that might be it. That's so nice. Thank you very much. Joey the Bastard. It was the perfect symbiosis back when we lived in harmony with nature. Seriously. And wood fire is amazing, Jilly. I thought you went to bed, Jilly. It's so good to see you here. I saw your comment above about being like going to bed, but I'm glad that you are back. Carpe Pax, good to see you, Carpe Pax. Everyone is dropping by right now. A nice wood burning stove. Have you heard of the heat activated passive fans? Passive fans, I have. Those are the ones that pass heat down the hallway from the actual those pass the heat down from the actual stove, right? What is it? Let's see. Heat activated passive fans. Those must be the fans that pass heat down from the yeah, exactly. That is what it is. Thank you for giving Coffee Packs that shout out, Grimpy Coffee. We need to give a Grimpy Coffee shout out. Pulling a Nabby. Nabby. Shit, what is Navi again? I forget what Navi is. I already forgot. I just learned. I'm such a boomer. Shout out Grimpy Coffee is what I'm trying to write right now. Grimp. Shout out Grimps. Grimpy Coffee. Grimpy Coffee V. Okay. And this music is me. All the music on this channel is music that I have performed. I've been playing music my whole life, and it's something that means the world to me. Oh my god, Jilly, that's so fucking cute. That's so cute. Oh my god, Navi. Oh my god, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna start calling him Navi. That's so good. I don't know how I didn't make that connection. Grimpy Coffee. Thanks. Yeah, no, you're all so kind. I appreciate you all so much. It's so cool to just like have people like, this is like my wildest dreams coming true in a certain way, because when I very first started streaming, I was like, what if I like actually like got to the point where I just like signed on, and as long as I like hung out, like people would just come in and I could just literally chill and just like create this like weird, unique experience. It's so novel. It's like the ultimate novel experience. Paigey. Favorite people. Oh my god. You're too kind. All of you are too kind. Especially who was it? I'm going back to Zhao Cortuno. What a good name. I'm really cute. Fuck yeah. I was actually just talking recently about the fact that like I haven't dated in a while and I'm relatively at peace with it, but I very much would like to find someone who I could date. But I would only want to meet someone like naturally and like in my local vicinity. I'm very uninterested in online dating at this junction in my life. Give me just one moment. I have to clear my throat and have a drink. Yeah, I am so uninterested in online dating. It is not the way for me. But anyways, I've been living on this farm and we have a wood burning stove, and that's kind of what we had last talked about. And like that's a change. Like it's something you have to constantly maintain, and it's kind of sick. Like I kind of like it, honestly, in certain ways. But like that's just one of so many things that have to happen around here, or else like, you know, like you're in this case a cold house, but like hot water is what I was gonna say, but actually the water would not be hot. But like things are pretty amazing here. There's like a huge amount of forest surrounding a huge amount of fields that surround the house, and it's just very pristine. And we have it's like beautiful mountains that we're in, actually. Like, so we have huge views of a great horizon, and we're not near the city, so like it makes things harder because we have to like plan around that. And like I don't even have a driver's license right now, which makes it hard, so I'm like reliant on rides, but I'm getting my driver's license again. I haven't had it for many years for several reasons, but I have driven a lot in my life prior to this. But yeah, living on a farm is so weird. And right now there aren't animals here, but there were animals, and there might be this coming year. But I've already done some farm tasks, even though it's the winter, and like I planted some things, and I did some tree planting, and let's see, I don't know. I've also just like done art and stuff. I mean, honestly, the biggest thing is that I have space to play piano. I can play as much piano as I want, and I can be as loud as I want, which is just like fucking the most amazing thing. And also the wood stove that we have is like a literal wood cooking stove, and I used it to make lentil soup tonight, and it's like, it came out so perfectly. I was telling my landlady, and like I bet you can all relate to this, is that for me, when I cook food, it's actually a gamble. It's literally a gamble because I'm not rich, and like for me, when I cook a meal, I do like a big meal prep at the beginning of the week, and I invest like all my money into it. So I just went shopping and I spent like basically $100 for like a week's worth of food, and like the main entree that I made for the week was this lentil soup. And like if I messed it up, I'd just have to eat shitty soup all week, because like that represented all of my money for the week, you know? So it's like kind of a gamble to cook anything. And if like the more complicated the meal that I want to make, the more of a chance there is that I could possibly make it gross and then have nothing good to eat all week. And so it actually has kind of a lot of weight on it, but luckily my soup came out very well. My landlady is like super not vegan. I obviously am a very vegan, and that's a big part of this channel for those of you who might be new here. And she liked it, even though she's super staunchly not vegan, so I count that as doing something well if she tended to enjoy it. But yeah, it's been a change living here compared to being in the city, that is. I definitely like it a lot more though, and I'm pretty like happy about like the internet is like pretty good. the electricity has been very reliable, and even the hot water has been like pretty good. Our shower is actually like pretty fucking incredible. Let me show you. I can literally do this. I don't think I'm doxing myself by showing this. I'm gonna pull up a picture of something here. Maybe in some way I'm doxing myself by showing this, but I don't think I am. I'm gonna show you all a picture of the shower that we have in this house. You all get to see the shower that I use. Check this out. So it probably doesn't look like much at first. It probably doesn't look like much at first, right? But like, okay, I'm a little intimidated. Okay, here it is. This is our shower. I know it probably doesn't look like a lot to you, but like this fucking shower is the best shower that I've ever used in my life. First of all, if you look here, if you look at this like shower head, you can like hold the shower head, and this is like removable, and you can like shower however you want. But then like this has a waterfall head, and you can like switch to either one. And the thing is that my landlady built this whole house, and she handmade, get this, I'm not even exaggerating, my landlady handmade every single one of these tiles. Every single tile, including these curvy ones, my landlady made. And this tile in particular, this is stained glass. All of this is just stained glass. And this one is so incredible. Like, this one literally looks like a garden. It's so unbelievable. And so this is the shower that I get to use. And like, it's kind of jank in certain ways, but then in other ways it's incredible, and the water stays so warm so quickly. So it's definitely like one of the best shower situations that I've had in my life. If I'm being honest, it's kind of random to bring up. I mean, I guess I can give you, oh, whoops, I almost closed out of OBS. Am I sure I want to exit? No, I'm not sure I want to exit. In fact, I'm sure I don't want to exit. Handmade stained glass? I know! Oh, miraculously! Hello! It's so good to see you. I really appreciate you dropping by. Yeah, my landlady... Oh, and that... I was actually going to talk about that. My landlady is like a brilliant woman. She's super fantastic in so many ways. But, and there's a but, there's always a but, right? She's a super fantastic woman. She's literally brilliant, and she built this house. Like, wouldn't it be amazing to build a house? I know, it's pretty inspiring. And she's like a brilliant person in so many ways. And she made all of those tiles. She's like fucking amazing. But also, like, it's kind of crazy, because like I feel like I have to protect her, because she's I want to put it gently, she is more elderly than myself, and she can fall prey to technology, and to put it very bluntly, she's like literally getting pulled into a fucking like romance scam. I hate to say it. I fucking hate to say it, but my landlady is getting pulled. Like, she knows that it's like a scam, I think. But like, I'm fucking confused by it. Like, she seems to know it's a scam, but she's like digging into it, and it's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I don't mean to share other people's personal information, but I'm sitting here on the sidelines and I'm like, please don't wire funds to someone who's off of like fucking the Cayman Islands or whatever. Like, please don't do this. Like, nothing good can come of this. There's literally nothing good that can come of this. But living with my new landlady has been kind of interesting. I always find it weird to live with the person you rent from, but I've actually done it quite a bit in my life. I've found that it tends to grant like the most immediate fixes to housing issues if you live with the person in the house, because they do it. I know it is so bad, Julie. Like, the scam. I don't think they're gonna do it. Today I was pleading with them. I was like speaking very bluntly. I was like, this is a scam. Don't even go on their website. Just like, please let this go. Like, please stop. Please stop. It's like ripping my heart out. And I was like furiously texting her all these articles of the exact same scam that have happened to other people. She's like, I won't do it. I won't do it. But she's so cool. She seriously is. I made her a website and she's like so into it. I'm so glad she likes it. So for everyone who's here, please smoke weed if you have it, because like why wouldn't you is the real question. Aw, poor baby. Oh my god. I think my landlady might buy me a massage for Christmas. I keep like saying I want a massage, and I think she might actually get us both massages, and I could really use one. My back is like rough. I've been working so hard lately. Oh yeah, and that's kind of what I was talking about, is that like I want to stream more, but I'm like so busy doing like labor here. I'm like actually like working on this farm, and I'm like working, and like I'm also exploring the nature and stuff too. My landlady was like, oh, we should get an axe so that we can cut down trees, just because she wants to do that. And I'm like, okay, sure, we can do that. I've cut down trees with an axe before. It just took like a literal whole afternoon for no reason. Well, there was a reason when we were doing it. I think my landlady just wants the empowering experience. We would not do it to a living tree, though. We would only take down something that was already like gonzo, you know? Of course. Of course. Yeah, so I'm vegan is a big part of this channel, and we actually also had a Thanksgiving thing the other day, and I wanted to make the soup that I made today, like 2 days ago, before we had people over, and I didn't get to because my landlady never made it to the grocery store with me. So I basically made this vegan cheesecake, and don't get me wrong, this cheesecake was fucking ridiculous, but I was like living off a vegan cheesecake for 2 days, and I felt like incredibly sick at the end. Saving the forest that way. You know, I mean, honestly, we are doing some pretty amazing things here on this like land. My landlady is actually like planting redwood trees, and they're growing like phenomenally, and it's actually like really incredible to see these trees just like spring up out of the ground, and the farm just has this like endless supply of water. I feel incredibly grateful to have stumbled upon where I'm staying right now. It is cold as fuck though. I'm dressed very scantily right now, very purposefully, obviously. And so it's pretty chilly in my room, but that's okay, because you know, that's what happens when you forsake warmth for cuteness. You bought a vegan cheesecake for Thanksgiving, miraculously. Oh my god, nice. Yeah, I basically ate Oreo vegan cheesecake for like at least 72 hours and felt sick for the last 30 hours of it, but it was still good up until the very end. Even when my stomach was hurting, I was like, this is the fucking best thing that I've ever eaten ever, though. But now I'm eating my lentil soup, which is one of my favorite recipes of all time. And it's also extremely nutritious for me. So I'm very looking forward to getting to eat that for the next week. It's freezing there as well, Julie. I don't know where you are exactly, but I'm sending you my warm feelings towards you through the ether. That's all that I can do. But if quantum entanglement and all that is like legitimate, then it should maybe make a little bit of a change. Means indeed. Okay, so it is 2:05 in the morning, and I've been streaming for 4 hours. I was planning on streaming for like 4 to 6 hours tonight. We've gotten through the videos that I pretty much had planned on watching earlier. And so, you know what? I think I'm gonna not push it just to keep myself healthy for this week. and I think I'm gonna raid into somebody just to, you know, get like a reasonable amount of sleep tonight, and then I'm gonna stream Wednesday and Friday this week, and then starting next week I'm gonna be streaming Tuesday and Thursday every single night, or Tuesday and Thursday every single week. Hours are to be determined, but right now I'm thinking that I'll stream between like maybe 10 to 3 a.m., something like that. Yeah, thanks for being here, Cryptid Mage. Thank you all for being here. Jellyfish, Mira, Grumpy, for just everybody dropping by. I always appreciate you being here. Really excited to stream again on Wednesday. I might stream tomorrow if I feel up to it. I mean, I'd really like to. But I'm going to check out and see who's on Twitch right now, who I can jump into. Let's see. There's not a lot of people that I know who are online right now. Anybody have recommendations for someone who I can raid into? Thank you, Grimpy. Are any of you gonna stream and I can raid into you? Does anyone want to start streaming and I can raid into you? Or if I can't find someone, I could just hang out for like 10 more minutes. I don't know. I don't really know anybody. If I was smart about like actually networking, I would probably try to meet more people, but oh, here we go. Inked Sexy Lexi. Okay, I will. Yeah, no, that's great. Awesome. Thank you for the recommendation. And I'll give them a follow too. And everyone else should as well, because if Cryptid says they're cool, then I think that they're great. I'm gonna turn off my playlist. And then we're gonna turn up their stream. And then now we're gonna go for the raid. Thank you all very, very much for being here tonight. Really appreciate it. We're gonna hop into Ink Sexy Lexi, who's playing, I think, is this Borderlands? No, this isn't Borderlands. I haven't played games in a long time. Warzone 2 is what it is. Ink Sexy Lexi. And we're gonna hop in. Thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it. I hope that you have a really good rest of your night and a good start to your week. Bye.
Alright. I got tapped.
These guys are about to push out.
Yeah, they are. I got knocked by one of them.
Yeah, they're pushing out now.
You take that house with Dawn. She's got.
Ammo and everything's fucking gone. That's great.
They're coming to this building right now.
Hey, I got a headshot on one of them.